The Terrifying Legend of the Great Devil King Part 6. The human emperor before him had an ethereal and otherworldly aura, and an extraordinary demeanor, as if he did not belong to this world. He looked at Su-Emo quietly with his eyes, and there was a vicissitudes and decayed atmosphere around him. "The Destined One, you are here." He spoke softly, his voice calm and indifferent, like an ancient well without any ripples. "The Destined One? Wait for me?" Su-Mo's eyes flashed with unprecedented surprise. The words of the human emperor revealed too much information. According to Su-Mo's understanding, the destined person should be Xianyuan Luoyuan. How could it be him? "I have been predicting your arrival for 500 years, and today, you have finally walked before me." The emperor spoke calmly. With a wave of his hand, an inexplicable aura descended upon this world. The world in front of me began to change suddenly. I saw a phantom cloud condensing in the air, constantly changing, slowly evolving something. Finally, a picture appeared. That is the main hall of the Taoist sect. The moment Su-Mo's original body was born, a meteor fell from the sky. Afterwards, strange phenomena occurred one after another, and thousands of swords rang out at the same time. "From the moment you were born with a strange sign. According to the destiny of the stars, you should be the one destined to save this world. But I have deduced the trajectory of your fate, and it was not blinded by the way of heaven. Instead, it was clear that you should have died at the age of 23, at the hands of the demon clan." The strange way of the emperor. The scene in front of him changed again, recording Su-Mo's life. He practiced swordplay at the age of 3, and mastered the art at the age of 5. He swept his peers with one sword. At the age of 7, he created the Changhong sword technique at the end of the sunset. He continued to practice it until he was defeated by Xianyuan Luoyuan at the age of 17 and lost his swordsmanship. He eventually died at the age of 23 at the hands of the demon emperor. And now, you have actually defeated Xianyuan Luoyuan. I don't know what happened to you, but it is undeniable that you have changed your destiny. At this moment, your destiny has returned to its place, and this is the real you." The human emperor stood with his hands behind his back, looking at Su-Emo with burning eyes as if he was looking at a rare treasure. "What is destiny? Your emperor is still alive, but now the human and demon races are in a three-way confrontation. How can you save the world?" Su-Emo frowned slightly, puzzled. According to his speculation, the so-called destined person should be the child of destiny in this world. But the child of destiny is Xianyuan Luoyuan. What does it have to do with him, Su-Emo? Moreover, the human emperor is still alive. Although the human race is weak, it is far from the point of destruction. The destined ones are the ones who have been given a great mission by heaven. You were born to solve the problem of the demon race. The emperor explained, and then looked at Su-Emo, with a complicated look in his eyes. "As for the great catastrophe, what if I tell you that the human race will face a great catastrophe in the near future?" "How can you say that?" Su-Emo frowned slightly. "Do you know the secret realm?" Seeing Su-Emo shook his head, the emperor said, "This world is filled with numerous secret realms. They are the fragments of the world left behind after an unimaginable world was shattered. The area where the fragments are scattered is a place where space is distorted, all laws do not exist, and it is filled with countless dangers. If you are not at the level of a human emperor, you will almost certainly die if you rashly enter. Even if he is a human emperor, if he does not have great luck and is caught in the turbulence of time and space and enters the secret realm, he will almost certainly die." The emperor was extremely handsome. His jade-like face was filled with deep sighs. Even with his current status as the best in the world and his invincible power, there are too many secrets in this world that he doesn't know yet, and too many dangerous places that he has not yet stepped into. "If it's so dangerous, why go there?" Su-Emo was puzzled. "In order to seek the truth, for the opportunity. Although there are countless dangers in that secret realm, it also contains unimaginable opportunities. It contains the great heritage left behind by the remaining great world. The road ahead for us has been blocked. We have been stuck in the realm of the human emperor for many years. I don't believe there is no way to go after the human emperor. There must be a whole new realm waiting for us to explore. We cultivators fight against the sky, the earth, and people. As long as we can make further progress on the path of seeking, even if we are in danger, we have nothing to fear." The emperor's handsome face was no longer calm, but instead had a hint of high spirits and high spirits. In his eyes, as bright as stars, there is a hint of deep madness and an unwavering determination to seek the truth. Let Suemo be moved. Suemo asked himself, he did not have such a strong desire to seek the truth, or he still did not know what his truth was. In the last reincarnation world, he cultivated for more than 20 years just to save Su Xian and to get Luo Shi back, qualified to walk side by side with her. And now, he has stepped into this reincarnation world again, also to save himself, save Luo Shi, and save the earth. His whole life seemed to be pushed forward by a pair of invisible hands. He has never figured out what his own path is. What is the purpose of your own cultivation? If there wasn't such a life-and-death crisis, would I still practice so hard? You seem to have not yet found your own path, but your eyes are determined, and you have something you are determined to stick to. Sooner or later you will embark on this path. The human emperor said. His eyes were as wise as torches, and in his eyes were evolving mountains, flowing water, and all things in nature, as if he could see through all the real and unreal things. What does the secret realm have to do with the destruction of the world? Suemo didn't discuss this topic too much, but asked. Back then, our 3 human emperors and the 4 demon emperors of the demon race started a great war, which eventually caused turbulence in time and space. I accidentally got involved in an unprecedented vast secret realm, which contained the most supreme inheritance in the once ruined world, and an ancient scripture was engraved on it. The human emperor said, with deep yearning and sigh in his eyes. And then, the demon race got the inheritance? Suemo asked doubtfully. None of the 7 of us got it in the end. The ancient scripture broke through the air and flew away. Having said that, there was still an unshakable surprise and a hint of deep-seated bitterness in the eyes of the human emperor. Once, I was the most confident to obtain the inheritance, but in the end, the ancient text became spiritual and flew away on its own. It's unprecedented, the human emperor said, with regret in his words. Suemo was silent. Ancient scriptures that can communicate with spirits are indeed unheard of. But why did it fly away spontaneously? Could it be that the scriptures also recognized their master? Finally, after the joint deduction of several of us human emperors, we finally learned that the secret method was in the hands of a demon girl. The demon girl used this method to grow from a mere demon soldier to the 5th demon emperor of the demon clan in less than 20 years. How shocking! When the human emperor said this, his body trembled slightly, and there was an unspeakable excitement in his eyes. That inheritance was originally mine. I could have used it to pacify all enemies from ancient times to the present, but I had to watch it fly away from my hands. Can you understand? Why did that scripture choose Zhao Ziluo? And not me? I am the dignified human emperor. What qualifications does Zhao Ziluo, a first-level demon soldier, have? As the human emperor spoke, his emotions were out of control like never before. He was no longer as gentle and polite as before. His flawless face was filled with deep pain and distortion. He took a step forward, grabbed Sumo's shoulders, trembling all over, with a deep madness in his eyes. Kill Zhao Ziluo. If Zhao Ziluo breaks through with his inheritance and becomes the demon emperor, and goes one step further, it will be a disaster for the entire human race during the day. Kill Zhao Ziluo, obtain the inheritance, quell the rebellion of the demon race, and the fate of the entire human race is in your hands. Kill Zhao Ziluo! Kill Zhao Ziluo? That's fine. I'll take it. Suemo breathed a sigh of relief and said. He was just a passerby in the cycle of reincarnation. His own world is waiting for him to save it, so how can he have time to save the world? If it's not too complicated, you can do it easily. If it is too risky, he can only choose to protect himself. But if it's about killing Zhao Ziluo, then it'll be fine. After all, his original mission when he returned was to kill Zhao Ziluo. But Su Emo was very confused. Why did all the criticisms finally point to Zhao Ziluo? The system wants her dead, the emperor wants her dead, the human race and the demon race want her dead. She seemed to be truly the enemy of the whole world. The whole world wanted her dead. How could Zhao Ziluo commit such an unforgivable crime, and who did he offend? You are the most likely person to kill Zhao Ziluo. Don't follow my path. You must kill him, the human emperor said, and when he saw Su Emo agreed, he breathed a sigh of relief. Now you are only at the venerable realm, and your strength is still a little weak. You need to improve your cultivation as soon as possible to kill Zhao Ziluo. My sect has a method of enlightenment, and I will pass on my cultivation to you now, the emperor said, and the next moment, he raised his hand and made a gesture. A faint force gathered in his hands, but in just a moment, the energy dissipated like smoke. The human emperor frowned, and the next moment he condensed again, and still dissipated, and this repeated, and finally, the human emperor's expression turned into horror. Why can't I teach the Dharma? This shouldn't be the case. It's clearly this Dharma formula. Why can't I use it to enlighten my mind? Is there a possibility that you are already dead? Su Emo asked tentatively. Dead? You are the one who died. How could I, the great emperor of mankind, die? The human emperor widened his eyes and asked in disbelief. But at this moment his body froze in place, his handsome face turned pale, as if he had been struck by thunder. You are indeed dead, and have been dead for 100 years. Otherwise, the ancient method is in the hands of that little demon soldier. You should have snatched it yourself. Why did you wait for me to kill her? Su Emo said, with a deep sigh in his words. Yes, I am the human emperor, the youngest and most powerful human emperor in history. Invincible in the world, she is just a little demon soldier. Who can stop me if I want to kill her? Why should I wait for you to come? Can I do it myself? The human emperor fell into deep self-doubt, muttering to himself. At this moment, his aura became more vicissitudes of life and became erratic, as if it would dissipate at any time. Because you are already dead, this is just a trace of obsession you left behind. As for who killed you, I'm afraid only you know. Su Emo looked at him with a complicated expression, a hint of sympathy in his eyes. The attribute panel of the human emperor appeared before my eyes. Name Su Tian. Level 99, Human Emperor. Status: transformed from a wisp of obsession after the death of the human emperor. Persistence time of obsession: 120 years, 3 months and 49 days. Remaining existence time: 0 years, 0 months, 3 minutes and 43 seconds. Skill: evaluation: a great emperor, he ruled the world, and after his death he became a regret, guiding the way for future generations. The emperor died long ago. Died 100 years ago. He never walked out of the secret realm at first. A trace of obsession has remained to this day. That's why the emperor of the Su family has not been born for 100 years. Therefore, Taoism is still controlled by the Su family, and is not really taken away by the Xianyuan family, in order to create the illusion that the head of the Su family is not dead yet. The so-called Dao sect dispute was nothing more than the human emperor of the Xianyuan family. The decision to save oneself in the face of oppression from the 5 demon emperors is a show performed for the demon clan. I am the youngest and most powerful emperor in the history of the human race. I am invincible in the world. I once fought against the 3 great demon emperors alone and never lost. Who on earth can kill me? The demon tribe has not been pacified yet. How could I die? How could I die? Who killed me? Who could kill me? Human Emperor Su Tian had a hint of deep pain in his eyes that were like the starry sky. He is young, handsome, and has a great manner. He was once unprecedented in history. He gained enlightenment at a young age, dominated the world for several generations, and supported the entire human race. With him around, the demon clan has never expanded their territory even a little bit. With his own strength, he has suppressed the entire demon clan so that they dare not step out of line. Now he is dead. The aura of him was weathered and decayed, and became increasingly faint. 100 years was too long. His memory had long been shattered and he didn't even remember that he was dead. Only this deep obsession remains in the world. He stared at his body in a daze, and a faint rain of light began to appear, flickering. Think carefully, who are you? Su-Emo took a deep breath and asked softly. I am the human emperor. I want to pacify the demon race. I want to protect the human world. Human Emperor Su-Tian, his voice was hoarse. But apart from the human emperor, who am I? I can't remember what is my name, he murmured, after a long, bitter smile. He searched the memories in his mind and found that everything was incomplete. He only remembered that he was the emperor, remembered everything in the secret realm, remembered to entrust his descendants, and remembered to kill Zhao Ziluo. Remembered to pacify the demon tribe and guard the human world. He remembered these, but he didn't remember who he was. Putting aside his identity as the human emperor, who is he? I am indeed dead. From now on, the burden of the human race will fall on you. The emperor muttered to himself, his body became thinner, and his breath became increasingly ethereal. Then he seemed to remember something, and a look of realization appeared in his eyes. After a long while, he smiled carefree. He regained his former glory and became handsome and beautiful. His expression was indifferent, but he seemed as if he did not belong to this world, and there was a sense of haziness in it. What is the joy of life, and what is the pain of death? He murmured. Since I cannot pass on my skills, when this obsession of mine fades away, it will transform into the human emperor's order. With the human emperor's order in hand, you can go to the inheritance hall and start the inheritance. The inheritance trial will help you grow as quickly as possible, the emperor said, looking at Su-Emo deeply. You have to do what I didn't do. I failed, but you can do it. I seem to see the future and hope of our human race in you, he murmured. Looking at Su-Emo, he seemed to see his former self. But Su-Emo is far better than him. The road he has to go will be longer than his. After saying all this, the body of the human emperor began to glow with a hazy light. Eventually it turned into rain of light and dissipated piece by piece. He took one last nostalgic look at the world, looked at Su-Emo and asked, What will happen to this world 100 years from now? Su-Emo's eyes were clear and he said sincerely, There is no need to worry in this world. The peace created by His Majesty the human emperor is still continuing, and it can protect the human race for thousands of years. That's good. The human emperor nodded calmly, a pleased smile appearing on his handsome face. Eventually it completely fades away and ceases to exist in this world. Su-Emo made a comment and bowed deeply to him. Farewell, His Majesty! Su-Emo took over the human emperor's order, which was transformed from the human emperor's obsession, with a deep complexity in his eyes. The human emperor created eternal peace for this world. We should respect him. Immediately, the human emperor order in his hand emitted a warm light. Su-Emo's consciousness invaded. Soon, a glimmer of understanding flashed across his eyes, and he understood the magical use of the human emperor's order. The human emperor's order is not only a symbol of the human emperor's status and position. It is also a magical weapon that can control the human emperor palace. In a sense, Su-Emo, holding the human emperor's order, represents the human emperor to a certain extent. The entire human emperor palace is also a magical weapon. There are countless formations and Taoist patterns engraved on it. It was created by the Taoist lineage and successive emperors with countless efforts. The entire human emperor palace is divided into 3 parts. They are the inheritance hall, the monster refining hall, and the central hall. And where Su-Emo is located is the central hall, which controls the center of the entire human emperor palace. As for the heritage hall, not only is there the inheritance left by Taoism from past generations, but there is also the supreme inheritance left by the human emperor. Thinking of this, The next moment, Su-Emo disappeared from the spot. When he appeared again, he was already in front of the gate of the Heritage Hall. Su-Emo holds the Human Emperor Order, which is equivalent to half the owner of the entire Human Emperor Hall. Can instantly teleport to any location in the Human Emperor Palace. Looking at the magnificent Inheritance Hall in front of him, Su-Emo was looking forward to it. What exactly is waiting for him inside? Boom! The next moment, Su-Emo pushed the door open and walked into the Inheritance Hall. The moment Su-Emo stepped in, a pillar of light shot up into the sky. It illuminated the entire world directly from the back mountain. The entire Taoist sect looked at the beam of light with expressions of shock and uproar. The Inheritance Hall has never been opened in 100 years, and now it is opened again. Young Master is indeed a genius, and he actually asked the Emperor to personally open the Inheritance Hall for him? It hasn't appeared in 100 years. In our era, there has finally appeared a successor who can open the Inheritance Hall. Oh my God, the successors of previous generations have only broken through to the 3rd level. I wonder what level the young master can break through to. The Taoists were murmured to themselves. Looking at the column of light rising into the sky, his expression was full of complexity. Welcome to the Human Emperor Palace, the 9th Inheritor. Su-Emo just came in. A magnificent voice came into my ears. Then, a hazy white figure appeared in front of him. Don't be surprised. I am the guardian spirit of the Human Emperor Palace. As long as you can obtain the inheritance of the Heritage Hall, you can become the new master of the entire Human Emperor Palace. The guardian spirit said. Su-Emo nodded slightly. The Human Emperor Palace is the most advanced magical instrument in this world. Even the system rates it very highly. According to the system, the equipment is divided into different levels. They are mortal weapon, spiritual weapon, magic weapon, treasure weapon, immortal weapon. As for the immortal weapon, there should be more levels, but the system shows a question mark. It is obvious that Sumo's strength or authority is not high enough, so it is not known for the time being. Each level is divided into 3 grades, upper, middle and lower. Previously, Xiaojiu was a low-grade spiritual weapon, but through continuous devouring and evolution, it has now become a mid-grade magical weapon. Name, Xiaojiu. Original form, Soul-Devouring Sword. Rank, medium-grade magical instrument, upgradable. Evolution points, 1241/50,000. Talent, Soul-Devouring, Evolution, Spiritual Communication. Soul Devourer, can devour killing energy, sword intent, spiritual power, etc. to repair damaged sword body, evolve itself, and improve its own grade and spiritual intelligence. Evolution, can comprehend the host sword realm and gain evolution. Spiritual, this sword is spiritual, it will protect its master spontaneously, and it can transform after evolution. Evaluation, carved with the heavenly heart seal of a world, the Tao Rune, it is naturally endowed with the ability to continuously evolve, and has great potential. Although this sword is a magic sword, it can kill immortals. If Xiaojiu goes one step further and becomes a fairy weapon, it will be not far from transforming into a human form. At this time, the rank of the Human Emperor Palace was higher than that of Xiaojiu. It is a top-grade magical instrument, and is only one step away from being a treasure instrument. Name, Emperor's Palace. Rank, top-grade magical instrument. Function, Heritage Hall, Demon Refining Hall, Central Hall. Hall of Transmission of Skills, a self-contained space where rules can be created in a small area and a legacy can be passed down. Monster Refining Hall, can suppress the monsters in the world, refine them into driving force, and control the monsters. Central Palace, can control the Emperor's Palace, make it bigger or smaller, fly, suppress, protect, and defend against enemies. Evaluation, the creation of the universe, the pinnacle of magical instruments. The Human Emperor Hall was built with countless blood of the human race. It is a supreme weapon that combines attack, defense, and suppression. There are only a handful of magical instruments in the entire distant continent. The palace of the Human Emperor is already the best in the world. So if possible, Su-Mo naturally hopes to master it. Inheritor, there are 10 levels in the Inheritance Hall, each one is more difficult than the last. And every time you break through a level, the inheritance rewards you get will be more amazing. It has been hundreds of years since anyone has been able to break through the 3rd level. As long as one breaks through the 5th level, one can become the new master of the Human Emperor Palace. The guardian spirit said slowly, pulling Su-Mo back to his thoughts. 500 years ago, the boy from the Su family broke through to the 5th level and became the master of the Human Emperor Palace. Oh yes, he is the current Human Emperor, but that guy seems to have died. I hope you can bring me enough surprises. And don't die so early like him. There was some sadness in the guardian spirit's words, but not much. Guardian spirits do not have particularly strong worldly emotions and desires like humans. In terms of intelligence, he may be even slower than Xiujio, and can only act according to given orders, like an intelligent program. It is a spiritual being born from the palace of the Human Emperor since the time of the first Human Emperor. I don't know how many generations have passed, so even when I look at the emperors of past dynasties, it's like looking at younger generations, and I don't have too many special feelings. Of course, this does not apply if you become the master of the Human Emperor Palace. So now, are you ready to accept the inheritance trial? The guardian spirit asked again. Su-Mo had already made preparations and nodded slightly. Only the next moment, the space in front of Su-Mo changed. Then they found themselves in a place of ice and snow. At the same time, 100 snow-white wolves, 3 or 4 meters tall, surrounded Su-Mo. Su-Mo searched through his original body's memory and recognized these monsters. They were the snow wolf monsters of the Yaoyuan continent, living in the extreme north of the Yaoyuan continent. It is considered a large tribe among the demons. However, at this time, due to being suppressed and refined by the Human Emperor Palace, it shed its demon body and only retained its pure beast form. Although his intelligence is not complete, his strength is still very strong. All of them are top demon generals. Now, it was directly transformed. It became the trial level of the Inheritance Hall. A combat test? Su-Mo's eyes were calm. Facing 100 snow wolf demon generals, he was naturally not afraid. The next moment, he slowly drew his sword. Brush! The soul-devouring sword swept across the sky, and a bright sword light crisscrossed the ice and snow. Just 3 seconds later, none of the snow wolf demon generals in front of him survived. I didn't stay there for long, and I passed the first level in seconds at an unprecedented speed. At this time, the outside world. That pillar of light that penetrates the sky and the earth. At the beginning, a golden one was condensed. But before it stayed for even a second, it changed to 2 in the blink of an eye. Oh my God, what's going on? Did the young master skip a level? It seems like he didn't even pass the first level and went straight to level 2. Many Taoists asked in confusion. What do you mean by not hitting? What do you know? I did hit him, but it happened too quickly, and then I was stupid. Oh my God, young master is so fast? This breaks the historical record, right? Many disciples were shocked and murmured in disbelief. This speed is unprecedented in history. I'm afraid that even the Human Emperor at that time didn't have such speed. Soon, the second level began. However, the field in front of him did not change at all. It was still a piece of ice and snow. But this time, another 100 snow wolves appeared again. The difference from the previous 100 heads is that this time, it's the Snow Wolf Demon King, who is several times larger in both body and size. Su-Mo's eyes narrowed slightly. Although the difficulty has increased by more than 10 times, with his fighting power, he is naturally not afraid of anything. Brush! The next moment, a rain of swords appeared in the sky, densely packed and as bright as meteors. Su-Mo did not swing the sword casually again, but used the sword technique. 10,000 swords returned to the origin. Just 3 seconds later, the Snow Wolf Demon King in front of him was killed again. The bodies of countless fallen Snow Wolf Demon Kings gradually faded away. However, as they faded away, a bad premonition loomed in Sumo's heart. Roar! Sure enough, 100 snow wolves appeared again, and this time, it was the Demon Lord. It seems like just 3 seconds, and the young master has passed the second level. Wow, this speed sets a precedent. It's really fast. Looking at the number on the beam of light, it changed from 2 to 3 in just a moment. The Taoist disciples were amazed. At the same time, some people are full of worries. But what's the point of just being fast? The key is to be strong. This third level has made countless talented inheritors bow down. It is simply a watershed. Yes, even if the young master is extremely talented, which of the previous inheritors were not extremely talented? It is really hard to say whether he can survive. In the past 100 years, only His Majesty the Human Emperor has passed the third level. I wonder if young master will become the next His Majesty the Human Emperor. At this time, everyone in the Taoist sect was speaking with deep worry. At this time, Sumo, who was in the trial level, couldn't help but have a complicated expression. Only when you are truly in the situation do you realize how difficult this level is. The difficulty of the third level of this trial increases linearly. No wonder that throughout the years, among the inheritors of several geniuses, only a few could break through the third level. You have to fight against 100 monsters of the same level at the same time. Who can do it if not a brilliant person? Even Sumo couldn't help but frown at this moment. But the next moment, facing the group of demon snow wolves rushing towards him, he quickly adjusted his state and fought with them. Boom! Facing the demon lord, using 10,000 swords returning to the origin is useless. You can only fight it with the ultimate killing move. Sumo was caught in an unprecedented protracted battle, which was unprecedented for him. The familiar sword technique in his hand was performed one move after another. From the Tianqin sword technique, to the Holy Spirit sword technique, to the Xianyuan sword technique, and to the sword of heaven and earth. Sumo hadn't fought such a high-intensity battle for a long time, facing so many people of the same realm at once. In the past, when facing an enemy, he would crush them and end the battle with just one sword. If one sword doesn't work, then use 2 swords. But at this time, he was facing 100 snow wolf kings who were stronger than him at the peak of the demon lord level. The difficulty can be imagined. But Sumo is a swordsman after all. Combat power cannot be measured by common sense. At this time, with the continuous killing, Sumo slowly began to get familiar with the snow wolf race, their skills, and their fighting methods in the ice and snow. Snow wolf can be said to be the darling of ice. Born in the far north, he is naturally fearless of the cold, and has the ability to control the wind and snow. But Sumo had never fought in such a harsh and extremely cold place. At this time, the environment has a great impact on the growth of one thing and the decline of the other. But Sumo is Sumo after all, and his fighting talent is extremely high. At this time, as time goes by, Sumo's combat awareness continued to improve, and his combat experience continued to increase. Integrate all the sword techniques and sword moves and use them once again. Sumo gradually stopped using any sword techniques. It was as if he had forgotten all his previous sword moves and entered a state where no moves were better than moves. When fighting, he relies entirely on his sword heart, and his sword intent and sword energy to defend against the enemy. Brush. I saw the sword energy in the air waving freely, and every minute passed. Every time a snow wolf of the Demon Lord realm dies. But at the same time, there was a piercing chill that continued to invade Sumo's body. Sumo's body became more and more rigid, and his black hair was covered with a layer of white. There is a little frost on the sword-like eyebrows. If this result continues, even if Sumo kills all the snow wolves, eventually your body will be invaded by this pervasive cold. Finally, he collapsed in the ice and snow. How would he face the next trials? Sumo took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He continued to use the sword intent to dispel the severe coldness in his body. This severe cold, can we only endure it? Sumo yells. The next moment, he began to observe how the snow wolf resisted the severe cold and mastered the power of ice and snow. As the battle with the snow wolf continued, Su-emo discovered that the snow wolf's will was somewhat similar to the will of this land of ice and snow. At a certain moment, it seemed to merge into nature, and the snow wolf itself became a part of the ice and snow, and naturally was not afraid of the severe cold. Thinking of this, Sumo's eyes flashed with enlightenment. He began to automatically enter the realm of the 8th level of sword intent, the unity of heaven and sword. His consciousness slowly interacted with the heaven and earth, imitating the snow wolf. Feeling the extreme coldness of this world. Gradually, even his will and sword intent began to take on a hint of extreme coldness. A mysterious feeling surged into Sumo's heart. Ding, due to your extremely high level of swordsmanship, you have entered a state of enlightenment in the ice and snow. Swordsmanship perception plus 100,000. As this mysterious feeling emerged, the bottleneck that had been at the 8th level of sword intent for a long time began to loosen at this moment. Su-emo stood quietly in the snow, motionless, his body covered with ice, snow, and frost. At this moment, it seems as if I am blending with nature and becoming one with the ice and snow. The 50 or so snow wolf demon lords who were still alive began to feel at a loss. It's like I've lost my goal all of a sudden, wandering aimlessly. The snow wolf demon king had already been refined by the human emperor palace. Not only did he lose his demon body, but he also turned into a beast. At this time, he has lost his original intelligence, and can only act according to his instincts. Just like a guardian spirit, just like an intelligent program. The command executed by the program is to attack the strange breath. So at this moment, when Sumo's breath suddenly disappeared in nature, the snow wolves lost their target in an instant. At this time, as time went by, Sumo's feeling became deeper and deeper. A trace of extremely cold sword intent on his body, as if materialized, began to grow stronger. Under the influence of this sword intent, his hair slowly turned into silver white. Even his pupils turned into a noble and cold silver white. His face is handsome and flawless, perfect and breathtaking. The temperament on her body became more otherworldly and indifferent. Like a darling of the ice and snow. Invisibly, it gives people a sense of distance, like a banished immortal high above, ruling the 9 heavens. It makes people subconsciously feel ashamed of themselves. Ding, due to your extremely high talent in swordsmanship, you have comprehended the sword power of ice and snow in the extremely cold land. Your swordsmanship realm plus 1. Boom! As the system's prompt sounded, in the extremely cold world. Su-emo finally reached the 9th level of sword intent and realized the extreme cold sword intent. Roar! With Sumo's breakthrough, the remaining 50 demon lord level snow wolves seemed to have discovered their target all of a sudden and roared towards Su-emo. The next moment, Su-emo raised his eyes. The handsome and cold face was calm, and his icy eyes, as cold as the biting cold, lightly swept over a demon-level snow wolf. Crack! Eyes like swords. A ray of extremely cold sword intent, as if it were real, pierced out from Sumo's snow-white eyes, which seemed to reflect the glittering snowflakes. The strange beast in the demon lord realm that was still running turned into ice as it ran, and the next moment, it shattered directly. And this is just the beginning. The next moment, Su-emo swung his sword. Brush! A silver-white sword light cut through the sky, and the extremely cold sword intent swept across the entire place. With one sword, thousands of miles of ice are frozen. At this moment, all the snow wolves were trapped in place and turned into ice sculptures one after another. Su-emo passed the 3rd level. On the pillar of light that reached the sky, 3 slowly turned into 4. At this moment, people could say nothing except shock. I actually passed it. No one has passed the 3rd level in over 100 years, and today the young master passed it again. The Taoists had complicated expressions. The 3rd level, there are 100 enemies of the same level. How could the young master? Many of the older generation of saint-level warriors had their pupils contracted as they looked at this scene in shock. You know, they were also chosen as successors one after another. But without exception, they all failed at the third level. At this point, they knew even more deeply how terrifying that level was. As expected, he is the one summoned by His Majesty the Human Emperor himself. The Grand Elder of the Saint Realm muttered to himself. Today, maybe we can see the rise of a legend. As Su-Mo comprehends the meaning of Ice and Snow's sword, the wolf pack is frozen for thousands of miles. The third level is over. Soon the fourth level begins. Still in that piece of ice and snow. This time, it was a snow wolf at the demon saint level. Su-Mo has already mastered the ice and snow sword, so he is naturally fearless. And I don't know if it's an illusion. The extremely cold sword intent could even subtly affect his thoughts. Not only is his temperament subtly changing, it also made his emotions and thoughts become absolutely calm, and he would no longer be disturbed or influenced by other emotions from the outside world. Eliminating the meaningless fear and anxiety, only absolute calculation remains. Name: Snow Wolf Demon Saint. Level: 89 Demon Saint. Status: Phantom. Skills: Extreme Cold Storm, Ice Control, Absolute Zero. Evaluation: the demon race that was refined by the Human Emperor Hall has now emerged, with only its instinctive fighting consciousness left. At this time, the information of Snow Wolf Demon Saint appeared in front of Su-Mo. Su-Mo analyzed its flaws in an instant. The extremely cold sword intent turned into ice and began to interfere with the actions of the Snow Wolf Demon Saint. And now, after mastering the extreme cold sword intention, Su-Mo's combat power has once again leapt forward. He has reached the peak level of the Demon Saint. Unfortunately, dealing with the previous 100 demon lords did not provide Su-Mo with any experience points, probably because it was an illusion. Brush. The next moment, Su-Mo had drawn his sword and was fighting with the Snow Wolf Demon Saint. 3 minutes later, Su-Mo finally ended the fight. The Snow Wolf Demon Saint in front of him was also turned into an ice sculpture by Su-Mo and eventually shattered. At this point, the fourth level was finally declared over. Coming to the fifth level, the scene in front of me finally began to change. The original ice and snow began to melt, and the environment was constantly falling apart. Soon, Su-Mo was in a fiery red melting pot. There is magma everywhere. A burning sensation began to come. At the same time, 100 black dogs with 3 ferocious heads and covered with fiery red stripes appeared in the lava world. This is a tribe from the area near the demon volcano, the 3-headed dog of hell. When they are demons, they have flaming red hair and 3 heads and 6 arms. But now, due to being refined by the Human Emperor Palace, only the beast body is left, and it has completely turned into the shape of a 3-headed evil dog. The 3-headed dog of hell is well known even among the demons. Except for the lack of a demon emperor, they are not inferior to the 3 top demon tribes. In terms of individual combat power, it is even superior to the Snow Wolf. Name: 3-headed dog of purgatory. Level: 59 Demon General. Skills: Lava Field, Flame Ray, Fire Control. Evaluation: possessing the will of fire, suspected to have the blood of the 3-headed dog of hell. The will of fire? Looking at the information of the 3-headed dog of purgatory in front of him, Su-Mo muttered to himself. Roar! The 3-headed dog of purgatory roared loudly and pounced on Su-Mo. Su-Mo watched coldly. The next moment, the ice and snow sword began to sweep across, and the white sword light crossed the sky. Even in such an extremely hot place, Su-Mo's ice and snow sword intent was suppressed. But Su-Mo's realm is much higher than that of the 3-headed dog of purgatory, who is only at the level of a demon general. As expected, the 100 3-headed dogs of hell were swept by the sword intent and frozen into ice sculptures. The 5th level was also passed in 3 seconds. And the next moment, 100 strange beasts appeared again, and this time they were indeed at the level of demon kings. It's not enough to rely on the ice and snow sword intent, Su-Mo muttered to himself. At this time, the three-headed dog of purgatory has grown into the realm of the Demon King. Also affected by the lava world, the power of the ice and snow sword has been greatly reduced and suppressed. Thinking of this, the next moment, the ice and snow sword intent began to retreat, and Sumo's silver-white hair slowly faded and turned back to its original black. The silver-white eyes that were like ice turned into an extremely enchanting fiery red. The temperament of the person even began to show a hint of flamboyance and fieriness. When Sumo's sword intent reaches the 9th level, it can be transformed into substance and integrated into the natural attributes. As long as you master the essence of ice and snow sword, then at this point, mastering other attributes will naturally be a piece of cake. Ding! Due to your extremely high level of swordsmanship, you have mastered the fire sword intent in the extremely hot environment. Swordsmanship experience plus 1 million. At this moment, Sumo's eyes showed a hint of enlightenment. All the mysteries about the Lihua sword intent emerged in his mind. Sumo's pupils turned into a bright scarlet color at this moment, and a mysterious and dazzling kaleidoscope was slowly spinning inside. As if a flame was burning, his eyes swept across the three-headed dogs of hell. Boom! Just for a moment, a blinding fire sword intent began to pierce out from Sumo's pupils. The black flames crossed space and time, suddenly burning on the bodies of a group of three-headed dogs of purgatory. In just a blink of an eye, 100 three-headed dogs of hell were turned into ashes and burned to ashes. Another 3 seconds passed and the 5th level was over. Soon, the 6th level begins. Brush! Sumo drew his sword, his scarlet pupils swept across the Demon Kings. The sword intent from Lihua slowly enveloped Xiaojiu. The entire body of Xiaojiu's sword was covered with a layer of faint fiery red golden light. The next moment, a fiery red sword light shuttled through the Demon Kings. All the three-headed dogs of purgatory in the Demon King realm were born less than a moment ago. In an instant, he was swept by the Lihua sword, and his body turned into a ball of fire and scattered. When Sumo mastered the Lihua sword, it meant that the level about the three-headed dog of purgatory was over. Dealing with the three-headed dog of hell is naturally a piece of cake. Directly break through the level. The speed is so fast that it is unprecedented and will never be repeated. It was not until he broke through the 8th level that he killed the three-headed dog of hell in the Demon Saint realm. Next, the 9th level. The infernal Cerberus and Snow Wolf from the Demon Saint realm appeared together. Sumo won this battle with great difficulty. However, under the training of the two beasts, he was able to integrate the ice and snow sword intentions with the fire sword intentions. In the end, one of Sumo's eyes was scarlet like a ruby, and the other was an unusually cold silver-white, directly turning into a heterochromatic eye. The temperament on her body has become subtly noble, with an indescribable evil charm that makes people fall in love with her unconsciously at first sight. After a hard fight, Sumo finally won the game and started to fight the last level. And this level? It is no longer a test of combat power. But ask your conscience. Sumo was in a void. Keep walking, there is no up or down, no left or right. It seems like there will never be an end, no goal. Some are just nothingness. It seems that all Sumo can do is keep moving forward. This level should be extremely difficult for Sumo. Even though Sumo has already experienced the reincarnation world. But he has been practicing for less than 60 years, so he is too young. However, many people who have practiced for more than 100 years may not be able to break through this level. After all, in this absolute nothingness, what people cannot stand the most is this endless loneliness, being completely isolated from the world. In the end, I didn't even know whether I was alive or dead. Over time, you will go crazy, or even completely lose yourself. Who in the world can endure true loneliness? Resist loneliness. Sumo murmured to himself. If Sumo had not comprehended the extreme cold sword intention before, relying on his sword heart, he would not have dared to say that he could have passed this level 100%. But at this time, The most obvious bonus of comprehending the extreme cold sword intention is that it will make Su-mo fall into an absolutely calm state. When your heart is as solid as a rock and you have gotten rid of many other useless negative emotions, you will naturally not be afraid of loneliness. Moreover, this level at this moment is more of an illusion created by the Hall of Inheritance. Su-mo's ice and snow sword intent can make him fall into an absolutely calm state, and the illusion cannot affect his mind. Moreover, Su-mo had already experienced countless environments created by sword intent when he crossed the sky bridge, which tested him. With experience, I am naturally not afraid of failure at this time. The next moment, Su-mo's hair began to turn silver white. The extremely cold sword intent enveloped him, and his pair of silver-white eyes were unusually calm. At this moment, under the extremely cold sword intent, absolute calmness enveloped him, and his sword heart became more firm than ever before. Even if there seems to be no way forward, Su-mo will still keep going forward unswervingly. Crack! Finally, after Su-mo walked for who knows how long, he endured the endless loneliness. All the nothingness is shattered before your eyes. Su-mo returned to the original space. The guardian spirit in front of him looked at him with a complicated expression. It's incredible. When the Heritage Hall was established, no one thought that anyone would be able to pass it completely. But today, someone actually broke the precedent. Congratulations, my master, you have completely cleared all the levels of the Heritage Hall. From today on, you are the new human emperor. At the same time, you will also be the master of the Human Emperor Hall and have obtained the ultimate authority of the Human Emperor Hall. The guardian spirit said respectfully, and seemed to be leaving the next moment. Wait, what about the inheritance of the Heritage Hall? Su-mo asked with a frown. You have already received the inheritance, right? These 10 levels use half of the demon power of the Demon Refining Hall to transform into extremely cold and extremely hot treasure lands that are rarely seen in the world. Throughout the years, only the previous emperor mastered the power of extreme cold, but in the end, he was defeated at the 6th level of the Land of Extreme Fire and was unable to pass the next level. And you are the first person in history to master the power of extreme cold and extreme fire at the same time, and you have even gone a step further and transformed it into sword intent. Your aptitude is truly rare and unheard of in the world. The guardian spirit explained respectfully. Su-mo was thoughtful. No wonder the trial levels are specially transformed into such extreme environments, and the monsters that appear are all very unique. This is the reason. The inheritance actually started a long time ago, but it was just integrated with the trial. And Su-mo had no doubts, and comprehended the 9th level of sword intent, which was already a qualitative leap and could be regarded as the greatest inheritance. After the guardian spirit finished explaining all this, the next moment its body began to fade away. It turned into a ball of white mist and disappeared into Su-mo's Human Emperor order. At this time, Su-mo also completely controlled the Human Emperor Palace. Ding, you have obtained the Human Emperor Hall! At this time, when Su-mo successfully broke through the 10th level, the outside world was completely in an uproar. I didn't see it wrong, except for the half-minute stop at the 3rd level, which took a little longer. The young master was almost unstoppable in the remaining levels. He passed them in seconds. This has never happened before. Oh my God, how come the inheritance trial has become so simple and easy in front of the young master? I am numb now. Words cannot express my shock. The people of the Dao sect murmured one after another. When Su-mo broke through the 7th and 8th levels in one breath, their shock had long since turned into deep numbness, and by now they were no longer surprised. After all, Su-mo has already created too many legends. From the moment he was born, the legends about him have never stopped. It was like this before, it is like this now, and it seems that it will not change in the future. This is the era of Su-mo. Su-mo naturally didn't know how shocked outsiders were. After studying the purpose of the Human Emperor Palace, many thoughts have arisen in Su-mo's heart. At this time, the ancestor of the Su family of the human race is already dead. If the news spreads out, the entire human race will almost face despair. He had to stand up. To find a way out for the entire human race. After a moment, Suemo had a plan in mind. The next moment, under Sumo's control. Boom! The entire human emperor palace emitted a dull sound. The human emperor palace began to slowly rise into the sky. The size of the internal world environment has not changed at all. But from the outside, the human emperor palace was shrinking. Soon, the human emperor palace rose into the air, turned into a stream of light, and left the back mountain. The human emperor palace stayed above the Taoist gate, majestic and magnificent, constantly emitting golden light. When all the Taoists saw this scene, they were so excited that they couldn't help but kneel down in worship. "We are waiting! We are meeting the emperor!" The sound of this voice spread throughout the world. All the Taoists, without exception, bowed respectfully and knelt down. After 100 years, His Majesty the human emperor has finally been born again. How fortunate I am to be able to see His Majesty the human emperor again. I have waited so long for this day. Many old Taoists wept bitterly at this moment. The human emperor is the memory and faith of countless generations. It has not appeared in the world for 100 years, but now it is finally going to appear and we can see its majestic appearance. But then, they are probably destined to be disappointed. Because the emperor had died 100 years ago. Naturally, he will not appear at this time. The next moment, under the expectant eyes of everyone, under the watchful eyes of everyone, Suemo, dressed in ethereal white, has already stepped out of the human emperor palace. He glanced calmly at the people kneeling on the ground. Everyone stared at each other, and the respectful voices suddenly stopped at this moment. How could the human emperor, whom they have been thinking about so much, become Suemo? Everyone looked confused and didn't know what to do. The emperor has ordered that Suemo, a genius, has passed the 10th level of the Heritage Hall, which has never happened before. From now on, Suemo will be in charge of the human emperor palace and officially become the spokesperson for the human emperor. Seeing him is like seeing the emperor. The next moment, the guardian spirit appeared. A mighty voice resounded through the heavens and earth, declaring. At the same time, a golden decree exclusive to the human emperor also appeared between heaven and earth, shining brightly. The next moment, it turned into large ancient golden characters, announcing it to the world. Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor! Everyone was stunned for a moment, and after a long while they seemed to react, and they all bowed in unison. But at this moment, their heads were still buzzing. How come such a good young master suddenly became the spokesperson of the human emperor? After clearing the 10th level of the Hall of the Human Emperor, is there any benefit? Is this position promoted too quickly? But when they thought that the person in front of them was Suemo, everyone felt relieved. After all, he created so many miracles. Cleared the 10th level of the Heritage Hall, something that even the emperors of all generations could not do. If even he cannot become the human emperor's walking representative on Earth, then who can? At the same time, a deep sense of glory arose among the Taoists. After all, they can be said to have watched Suemo grow up. Now, witnessing the rise of the legend in person is a way of sharing the glory. At this moment, everyone's face was flushed and radiant. They all looked at Suemo respectfully, their eyes filled with deep pride. After all, this is also their young master. From today on, I am the human emperor, Suemo said calmly. His majestic voice spread throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. With the personal authorization and certification of the emperor, he also controls the emperor's exclusive symbol, the emperor's order, and the emperor's palace. At this moment, it is not an exaggeration to say that Suemo is the human emperor. Under the huge pressure from the human emperor hall, and with the ice and snow sword intent not yet completely retreating, and Sumo's naturally convincing aura, no one dared to be disrespectful. Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor! Everyone said in unison. On this day, Suemo reigned supreme. On the first day of arriving in another world, he became an emperor. Suemo turned into a stream of light and jumped down from the human emperor hall. The human emperor's palace gradually shrank, and finally poured into the human emperor's order. when Su Mo fell to the ground. Everyone looked at him respectfully yet somewhat bewilderedly, especially the Taoist leader, who just stood awkwardly in the distance, not knowing whether to leave or stay. After all, he was just a young master before, but now he has become the human emperor. Naturally, he can no longer be treated casually like before. Your Majesty the Emperor! Some people of the older generation came forward and spoke with a mixture of respect and fear. No need to be so polite, just skip the red tape and keep everything as usual, Su Mo said, without putting on airs. According to human etiquette, these people must kneel down for a long time, cannot look at him when talking, and cannot walk in unison. There are too many rules. At this time, Su Mo naturally didn't need to do so. After all, the human emperor's decree was announced earlier only to make it easier for the human race to act in the future, so he chose to make it high profile. At the same time, in order to create the illusion that the human emperor of the Su family has not died, the purpose is to promote the power of the human emperor while he is still alive. That's why they mobilized the might of the human emperor palace to shock the world. Isn't it for this reason that Bao Gu is so anxious to accept the inheritance? Past 10 levels in a row, with talent surpassing all the ancient and modern times. In order to make the human race feel at ease and see the future. At the same time, it is also to make the demon race afraid. At this point, since the purpose of deterrence has been achieved, there is naturally no need to continue to do so. He is a casual person and doesn't want to be too restricted. Your Majesty, I wonder where our ancestor is now. Is he still as charming as ever? An old Taoist looked at Su Mo's face carefully, and seeing that Su Mo did not show any displeasure, he asked hesitantly. In their hearts, the ancestor of the Su family has not appeared in the world for 100 years, and some people are somewhat panicked at this time. Yes, Senior, he is still as charming as ever, Su Mo said with a complicated expression. He remembered the figure that amazed him. But in the end, it turned into light rain and completely disappeared from the world, and a generation of heroes fell. I'm afraid no one would have thought that the head of the Su family is already dead. Su Mo felt mixed emotions. Even today, with his state of mind, he couldn't help but feel a deep regret, and it took him a long time to calm down. Even the Emperor of mankind will fall one day. What about yourself? Will he fall from this world sooner or later? Die on the way to kill Zhao Zilio? After all, he was the demon emperor who made the mysterious ancient texts choose their master spontaneously. Even if you manage to complete this mission, what will happen next? Will you die in one reincarnation world after another? Will you die on the road to seeking the truth? Will it eventually completely dissipate into the universe and become just a part of the long river of history? In this life, who can be truly immortal and experience eternity? Pass the order down, summon the high-ranking members of the Dao sect to come for a discussion at noon tomorrow. Su Mo withdrew his thoughts and then gave the order. Follow the order of the Emperor! All the people in the Taoist sect bowed their heads and said respectfully. When I looked up again, Su Mo had disappeared. Su Mo walked towards his residence. I have no plan to live directly in the human Emperor Palace. After all, I am not used to it yet. While walking, Su Mo couldn't help but think about the way out and countermeasures for the human race in this world. The previous decree of the Emperor. Of course, it was he who asked the guardian spirit to say so, and he was the one who controlled the human emperor's palace. The demonic power in the demon refining hall was transformed into a decree and used. This is also the power of the human emperor palace. In order to make it easier for them to act among the human race. Although the ancestor of the Su family had already passed away. But Su Mo's behavior made everyone sure that he was still there. If the strongest human emperor of the human race is dead, if this news spreads, the entire human race will be in chaos. The life and death of the human race depends on the thoughts of the demon race. So Su Mo had to step up. Even though he is not from this world. But after all, I have been in this world for 17 years and have received a lot of favors from this world. Even though he only had a brief contact with the human emperor of the Su family, it had a great impact on him. If you think about it carefully, how similar is the human emperor of the Su family to him? They are both working hard to save their respective hometowns. Therefore, even though he was used to keeping a low profile, he had to be high profile at this time. See if we can find a way out for the human race, which is in danger in this world. The Dao sect still has many elders of the older generation who can help me fight and upgrade. I still need to further cultivate and consolidate my ice and snow sword intentions and fire sword intentions. The entire Dao sect also needs to be reorganized. After everything is settled for the human race, it will be time for the decisive battle with Zhao Ziluo. Dusk gradually fell, and facing the sunset, Su Emo walked towards his residence while whispering. The setting sun stretched Su Mo's shadow very long. Today is destined to be a sleepless night for all parties. The emperor of the Su family issued a decree and announced it to the world. Su Emo is a genius who has passed the 10th level of the Heritage Hall. This is unprecedented. From now on, Su Emo will be in charge of the Human Emperor Palace and officially become the spokesperson for the Human Emperor. Seeing him is like seeing the Emperor. At this time, all the major families also received the golden decree that fell from the sky. At this moment, they were all shocked and speechless. So the beam of light that just shot up into the sky actually broke through the 10th level of the Inheritance Hall? With this child's fighting power, a venerable can fight a saint. If he can pass the 3rd level, it means he is invincible in the same realm. If he can break through the 4th level, he can fight against a higher level. But clearing the 10th level is unheard of. What kind of monster is this? The members of the Xianyuan family who were flying on their swords stopped at this moment. I couldn't help but stare at each other, somewhat doubting my life. According to the emperor of my Xianyuan family, when the Inheritance Hall was first designed, it was never intended to allow people to pass through it. This boy is really good at creating miracles. He may really be the future of our human race. Hush, what do you mean by this kid? Next time we meet, you have to call him the Human Emperor. The Xianyuan family discussed. I sighed inwardly. I had overestimated Su Mo, but I didn't expect that I would underestimate him in the end. Yuner, since Su Mo is the spokesperson for the Emperor, you should stop approaching him casually. If you attack him again, or challenge him, it would be disrespectful. Xianyuan Xiaotian shook his head and sighed, then persuaded Xianyuan Luoyun. Then I couldn't help but think complacently. I never thought that I could even fight 3 moves with the spokesperson appointed by His Majesty the Human Emperor. After all this, doesn't it mean that I can fight 3 moves with the Human Emperor? When I thought about it this way, I felt my thoughts became clear. The shame of losing to the younger generation was gone, and instead, he felt a sense of honor. What junior? That's obviously the next emperor. Yuner, I know you have feelings for Su Mo, but his status is different now, so you should. Seeing that his daughter hadn't spoken a word, Xianyuan Xiaotian couldn't help but give her a warning. Then he looked back. Yuner? He saw that there was no one behind him, and there was no sign of his daughter. When did it slip away? And it's strange, why do I feel a faint demonic aura lingering? Xianyuan Xiaotian murmured softly, then stopped thinking about it, shook his head and smiled bitterly. This child is still so strong-willed. She didn't show this tendency when I first picked her up. Silly girl, don't you know that you are already from 2 different worlds? The Human Emperor of the Su family is not dead yet? Are you serious? At this time, the Qingqiu Fox clan, a figure with an evil and enchanting appearance, who was neither male nor female, sat high on the throne, emitting a terrifying aura. Replying to the Emperor, this is absolutely true. According to the spies who infiltrated the human race, the Human Emperor's palace has reappeared. Afterwards, the Human Emperor's decree was sent down from the sky, with unparalleled power. The Su family's emperor even personally appointed a successor. The little fox demon under his command knelt on one knee and said respectfully, After the battle that year, the emperor of the Su family has not appeared in the world for 100 years. We thought he had perished in that secret realm, but now it seems that he has escaped. The Qingqiu Fox Demon Emperor murmured in doubt. The voice also exudes a charm that makes people numb to the bone, with heavy echoes, and it is impossible to tell whether it is a man or a woman. It seems that the plan to attack the human race needs to be slowed down. Send the order down and ask Emperor Zhao Ziluo. Ask her when she is willing to join me in attacking the human race? As long as she is willing to take action, even if the ancestor of the Su family is not dead, what is there to fear? The Qingqiu Fox Demon Emperor said with some regret. Yes. The group of demon saints under his command also looked resentful, as if they had long been dissatisfied with the other demon saint of the demon clan. Taking in the expressions of the other demon saints, Qingqiu Fox Demon Emperor Bai Shang smiled with satisfaction. The Qingqiu Fox Demon Clan has transformed itself into the largest clan in the demon world since Zhao Ziluo was promoted to the Demon Emperor. However, outsiders may think that the Qingqiu Fox is powerful, but this is just an appearance. In fact, they are not united internally. The demon race is a race with a strong sense of territory. Even if they are from the same family, there cannot be two tigers in one mountain. As a veteran demon king, Bai Shang is the legitimate royal family of the Qingqiu Fox clan. Naturally, Zhao Ziluo, who suddenly appeared, would be isolated. Zhao Ziluo did not fight for power, and had no intention of seizing power. Therefore, even though he was the demon emperor, he did not have any power at all. He was always alone and only had the title of Qingqiu Fox Emperor. In addition, its attitude towards humans has always been ambiguous. The Qingqiu Fox clan, from top to bottom, had long been dissatisfied with her. At this time, the Qingqiu Fox clan could be said to be under the control of Bai Shang. You guys go find out the news about the heir to the human emperor and test his strengths. Bai Shang gave another order. Several demon saints said respectfully. Then the figures turned into a trail of afterimages and left one after another. In a flash, Bai Shang was the only one left in the huge hall. The human race. Su-mo. There are already 3 human emperors in this world who are able to compete with my demon race. We cannot have another human emperor. When the time comes, we must find a way to seduce Zhao Ziluo first to test the heir's strength. What's the saying in the human race? When the snipe and the clam quarrel, the fisherman gains. It's a good thing no matter who dies. Bai Shang sat high on the throne, his face gloomy, muttering to himself. The same goes for Zhao Ziluo. Ever since she became the demon emperor, she has never even glanced at me. But now she has become so powerful. Bai Shang sat high on the throne, his fist slightly clenched, and there was a hint of deep regret in his blue vertical pupils. Zhao Ziluo is still the demon emperor after all. He didn't dare to push too hard, and if it was a one-on-one fight, he might not be able to win. This was the most important thing. But whenever he thought of Zhao Ziluo's body, even though Bai Shang was the demon emperor, his state of mind had already become extremely strong. At this moment, he couldn't help but produce a hint of evil desire in his eyes. That would be a cauldron rarely seen in the world. Bai Shang was in the shadows, with a fierce look in his eyes. In terms of threat, Zhao Ziluo ranks above the heir to the human emperor. But even if you become the demon emperor, I will not let you escape from my grasp. If you dare to disobey me, I will make you deserted by everyone, and there will be no place for you in this world. Night has fallen, the moon is high in the sky, and the stars are shining brightly. The moonlight shines through the clouds and falls lightly from the starry sky, covering the world with a silver neon dress. At this time, the Qingqiu Fox clan, beside Jingxing Lake, on a crooked tree. I saw a peerless beauty in gorgeous clothes, leaning quietly against the tree. She has a peerless appearance, a calm and fair face, and skin whiter than snow. Her clear eyes, like azure gemstones, stared quietly at the lake, with no emotion or joy or anger visible. Her 3,000 strands of black hair flowed down like a waterfall, dancing gently in the breeze like a light elf. She had a graceful figure, and her not-so-elegant posture caused the hem of her skirt to slide down naturally, slightly revealing her ivory white and smooth calves. But somehow, there is a natural nobility and elegance about her. There is a beautiful lady on the tree, and the lake is gently rippling under the tree. The water was shimmering, and in the sparkling lake, the figure of a woman was faintly reflected. And in the lake, there is another her. Under the influence of the woman's otherworldly aura, the entire Jingxin Lake was filled with a faint spiritual light. The crystal rain of light floats everywhere, flowing with brilliance, like stars dotted around. The entire Jingxin Lake is filled with a quiet and beautiful atmosphere just because of the presence of the woman. The pictures are for reference only. We will collect pictures that match the character image for a long time. Pictures are not included in the text. Miss, those demon saints outside are here again, asking you when you will attack the human race. At this moment, a little fox demon in red clothes ran over in a panic, breaking the peaceful time. Just reply as usual. Now is not the time. Zhao Ziluo's eyes flickered as he spoke calmly. He raised his eyes to look at the little fox demon. His clear eyes revealed an air of being at peace with the world. Yes, miss. The little fox demon replied respectfully, secretly glancing at her young lady. The look of surprise in his eyes flashed by and then quickly faded away. The whole world suddenly became quiet again. Tell me, what's the good of fighting and killing? Can't humans and monsters coexist peacefully? Beside the deserted Jingxin Lake, Zhao Ziluo asked softly as if talking to himself. Miss, as a demon, you should fight against humans. Humans are insidious, cunning, and do all kinds of evil. This is a blood feud that has been passed down from generation to generation. The crooked tree under Zhao Ziluo actually spoke in human language and answered. But not all humans are like this. Zhao Ziluo murmured, and a figure vaguely recalled in his mind. That was when she was about 11 or 12 years old. She met a young man in his prime. The boy at that time was younger than her, but he traveled the world with a sword. She was just a small demon soldier at the time, but was rescued from the big demon by the young man, and then he carried her all the way and escaped from the encirclement. Although the boy never told his name. But she believed that as long as she saw the boy again, she would recognize him at first sight. I just don't know if he still remembers me. Zhao Ziluo muttered to himself again. Thinking of the boy, she couldn't help but smile, and her mood became much happier. He should be this big and this tall now. He must be as handsome as before. No, maybe even more handsome than before. Zhao Ziluo adjusted his posture and sat on the crooked tree, with ripples gently in his azure eyes. The white and delicate long legs swayed in the air, and the snow-white hands were stretched out to gesture. Miss, how can a human and a demon fall in love? The branches and leaves of the crooked tree swayed, and he shook his head and smiled bitterly. I believe that one day, humans and demons will be able to coexist peacefully and even fall in love with each other. If there is no such environment, then I will create it. Zhao Ziluo's beautiful eyes flickered slightly. Her 3,000 black hair fluttered, and her spirit was high. Miss, you must know that the hatred that has been forged for generations cannot be easily resolved. Can the demon race let the human race go, and can the human race let the demon race go? The emperor of the Su family has now appointed a successor, and the human race has gained a new general. It is said that he has even broken through the 10th level of the inheritance hall, which is unprecedented. It is hard to imagine how terrifying this boy's talent is. Once he reaches the realm of the human emperor, it will be the day for a decisive battle with the demon clan. When the war breaks out, all lives will be destroyed. The crooked tree sighed. It is well informed and has numerous clones. Since being enlightened by its own lady, every natural spirit in the entire Qingqiu Fox clan is his eyes and ears, so he already knows all of this clearly. If he becomes a stumbling block to the peaceful coexistence between humans and demons, then behead him. Zhao Ziluo murmured softly. His voice was not loud but firm. Miss, you should worry about your own problems first. The crooked tree sighed. Elder, don't worry. I just have a problem of falling into coma easily since 10 years ago. Other than that, there is nothing serious. Besides, there is no one in this world who can hurt me. After hearing this, Zhao Ziluo stretched lazily and said nonchalantly, as the movements stretch, the enchanting curves are perfectly displayed. Her figure is graceful and her soft waist can be held in one hand. Under the moonlight, she looks even more beautiful and charming. All right, Elder. I'll go out and take a look. Those demon saints are coming in a threatening manner. They will say bad things about me later. I don't think Xiaohong can handle it. They keep repeating the same thing over and over again. I have no intention of fighting for power, but they still try their best to isolate me. It will be bad if they scare my little maid away again. As Zhao Ziluo spoke, he turned into a streak of white light and disappeared. Is it really just a coma? After Zhao Ziluo left, the crooked tree murmured softly with a complicated expression. Then he remembered something and shook his head and smiled bitterly. Rumors are often the most hurtful to demons. Hurry up and report to Emperor Zhao Ziluo. When will we attack the human race? The human race is extremely cunning. They have invaded our demon race's territory. If we don't attack now, when will we attack? Emperor Zhao Ziluo is clearly unrivaled in combat power. If he cooperates with the other demon emperors of the demon race, it would be easy for him to defeat the human race. Why hasn't he made a move yet? Where is Emperor Zhao Ziluo? We want to go see him. A group of demon saints stood outside the gate of Zhao Ziluo's demon emperor palace. They were so aggressive that if it weren't for the fact that the demon emperor's palace was not allowed to be entered without permission, they would have probably rushed in by now. Please be patient, all the demon saints. The emperor has sent a message that everything can proceed as usual. The little fox demon in red could only say that under the powerful aura of the demon saints, beads of sweat could not help appearing on her smooth forehead, and her pretty little face looked a little nervous. Emperor Zhao Ziluo is so bloodthirsty. Why hasn't he taken action against the human race yet? What is he waiting for? Yes, could it be that Emperor Zhao Ziluo's killing is only aimed at our own demon race? The group of demon saints were obviously not satisfied with the little fox demon's reply and continued to question him harshly. What nonsense! When has my young lady ever been bloodthirsty? Upon hearing this, the little fox demon became unconvinced. Although she had not been with their young lady for a long time, the brief contact. The little fox demon also thought that their young lady was the best person in the world. When have you ever been bloodthirsty? These demon saints are confusing right and wrong. They must have been bewitched by Emperor Bai Shang. My young lady is always tolerant. He hasn't even seized power yet he's still spreading rumors. Yes and no, how would you, a little demon, know? Emperor Zhao Ziluo used to love to torture and kill little demons. If he displeased her, he would torture and kill her. Why do you think the maids around her changed so many times? The group of demon saints sneered and spoke. Nonsense, nonsense, fabrications, lies, all sorts of nonsense. That's all you can say. I don't believe it. The little fox demon put her hands on her waist and said angrily, obviously sneering at these words. Otherwise, how could a mere demon soldier like you, who is not even a demon general, be Zhao Ziluo's maid? Only you little demons who have just been born with intelligence would think this is a good job. Don't let yourself get eaten while you're cooking. I heard that little monsters like you are the most delicious. The green fox demon saint continued, a sinister and cunning look flashing in his green eyes. Then he licked his lips with a cruel look on his face. And the words spoken hit the little fox demon's heart directly. Although the little fox demon had full faith in the character of her young lady. But at this time, under the continuous instigation of the crowd, the little fox demon's cute face turned pale, and its pair of furry fox ears drooped. The petite body took 2 or 3 steps back. You are talking nonsense. The little fox demon suppressed the throbbing in her heart. Her beautiful eyes turned a little red, but she still spoke stubbornly. Just as I was about to continue arguing. And at this time, a stunning figure descended from the sky, with a tall and powerful aura that overwhelmed the place. Miss, I'm sorry The little fox demon lowered his head and said with some self-blame. The demon race has always had a saying, if the master humiliates the servant will die, but it was of no use to her. Her lady was being slandered, but she had no way to do anything and could not defend her master's dignity. According to the rules of the demon clan, he should have been executed. It's not like the little fox demon had never served some difficult masters before. At this time, you will inevitably be punished. Thinking of this, the little fox demon closed his eyes in fear. But the next moment, a warm feeling came from my head. The little fox demon's body trembled. Hong Hong, you've done well enough. I was inconsiderate and embarrassed you. Zhao Zilio gently touched the little fox demon's head and spoke softly. Then he protected the little fox demon behind him. Go back and tell Bai Shang that I am at the critical moment of practicing martial arts. It is not the right time to attack the human race now, Zhao Zilio said calmly. The imperial decree. The demon saints looked at each other, a hint of regret emerging in their eyes. Then I had to say it respectfully. After all, Zhao Zilio is the demon emperor. No matter how much they dislike it, they have to be respectful on the surface. If it's nothing important, please leave, Zhao Zilio said indifferently. Yes, the demon saints can only say. They didn't expect that Zhao Zilio was afraid that they and others would target this little fox demon. The dignified emperor actually came in person to deliver the message. The demons looked at the little fox demon that Zhao Zilio was protecting behind him. A hint of pity flashed in their eyes, and then they all retreated. Zhao Zilio returned to his own palace. Seeing the little fox demon standing in the corner with some fear, he did not dare to speak. Zhao Zilio began to guess something. Are you afraid of me? Zhao Zilio asked. No, miss. I just... Seeing that the secrets were spoken out, the little fox demon suddenly looked frightened, and his eyes were evasive. No matter how much I trust my lady. But rumors are often like a sharp blade, which pierce deeply into the little fox demon's heart. Difficult to pull out. If you don't feel comfortable here, just leave. I have some demon coins here, which should be enough to ensure you a worry-free life for the rest of your life. Zhao Zilio sighed softly, taking in the little fox demon's emotions. Disappointment flashed across her beautiful eyes. Then he threw a purse on the table with a dull sound. After a pause, Zhao Zilio thought about his current situation in the demon tribe. Those other demon tribes that are hostile to him are likely to target the little fox demon, so he said calmly. If anyone bullies you in the future, tell them my name, Zhao Zilio. Miss, I didn't. Please don't chase me away. The little fox demon suddenly panicked, knelt down on the spot, and trembled. I'm not uncomfortable staying here. Miss is the best lady I've ever met. I just hate that I'm weak and can't do anything for Mississippi. Other big monsters only bully me, but Miss is the only one who treats me sincerely. I'm willing to serve Miss forever. The little fox demon explained hurriedly. With her level 3 demon soldier realm, mediocre talent, and impure bloodline. In the demon tribe, you will only be bullied and become a slave. The little fox demon had been bullied countless times by the demon tribe since he was a child. What kind of suffering had he not experienced? So far, I have never met anyone better than you. Although he was an emperor, he was not arrogant at all and had always been very kind to her. Let her find the warmth of home that she had missed for a long time. I am a loner, and having no worries is probably the best option for me. You will only be implicated if you follow me. Zhao Zilio sighed softly, his tone a little low. As long as we do not attack the human race and are unwilling to start a war, this targeting will not stop. Miss, I'm not afraid, the little fox demon said in a decisive tone. Where are the wounds on your body? Let me see them. Seeing that the little fox demon insisted, Zhao Zilio did not force it and said instead. Then, the little fox demon hesitated for a moment. He untied his clothes. The snow-white body was exposed, but it was already covered with wounds, including whip wounds, bite wounds, burns, and scratches. The wounds were shocking and so numerous that it was impossible to look directly at them. A flash of anger flashed across Zhao Zilio's eyes. From now on, I won't let anyone bully you anymore, Zhao Zilio said in a low voice, his voice slow but firm. There is an air of authority without even getting angry, and a spirit of lawfulness in his words. Zhao Ziliuo held a ball of warm light in his hand and began to heal the little fox demon's wounds. Her hands gently brushed over the wounds, and they healed quickly. Her beautiful eyes looked at the scars. As Zhao Ziliuo watched, for some reason, his eyes suddenly became dazed. For some reason, Zhao Ziliuo actually had a sense of déjà vu, as if he had seen it somewhere. But where exactly? She couldn't remember. Within the human territory. It was noon the next day, the sun was shining brightly and the breeze was gentle. Above the Taoist gate, a majestic building appeared out of nowhere and was floating in the air. It's like a city in the sky, hanging forever. This magnificent building is naturally the Human Emperor Palace where Su Mo moved here. Your Majesty, I wonder why you summoned us here? In the Human Emperor Palace, all the great elders of the Dao sect gathered here, looking at the person sitting high on the main seat. I couldn't help but ask in a low voice. There were 11 supreme elders in the Taoist sect, and they gathered here because of Su Mo's order. Yes, Your Majesty, I am fighting the enemy at the border. Why did you suddenly call me over? I wonder what's the matter? A supreme elder questioned, with a look of slight dissatisfaction on his face. Young master, there are many spies from the demon race infiltrating the human race right now. If there is nothing important, I will go and deal with the demon race first. Another great elder even called out to the young master directly. Apparently, he didn't take Su Mo's identity as the spokesperson for the emperor seriously. This is already extremely disrespectful. If Su Mo takes it too far, it will be enough to get the supreme elder in trouble. But Su Mo is not that boring. Doing so would only make people accuse you of using your status to pressure others, and you still won't be able to convince everyone. At this time, Su Mo shook his head with a bit of amusement, and glanced at this group of Taoist troublemakers lightly, not caring about it. The ancestor of the Su family has not been born for 100 years. At this moment, the entire Taoist sect was almost firmly controlled by the 11 supreme elders in front of them. At this time, a young man, less than 18 years old, suddenly appeared. Naturally, few people would be convinced. Even if they passed the 10 levels of the inheritance hall, for these old guys who are over 100 years old. Su Mo is still too young and has not made any outstanding achievements. Elder Su Kuan, you are 113 years old this year, and you are in the middle stage of the Saint Realm. You have guarded the border of the human race for several years. You have worked hard and made great contributions. You are indeed respectable, Su Mo said. A look of complacency flashed across the face of Elder Su Kuan, who was named. As a human, I, Su Kuan, shall defend my territory and fight to the death. Heaven and earth can bear witness to this, the sun and the moon. Su Kuan raised his hands to the sky, his face flushed, and the more he looked at the spokesperson of the human emperor, the more he liked him. If it was just a special meeting to give commendation, why didn't you say it earlier? Wouldn't he have come a long time ago? TSK, what a fuss. He was just about to say something polite. But Su Mo paused and interrupted directly. However, you have been defeated repeatedly in defending the border over the years. As of now, the northern border has retreated more than 100 miles compared to the past. The war has not officially started yet, but before we know it, our human race has already lost a city's worth of territory. Elder Su, why is this happening? Su Mo knocked on the table and asked calmly. To be honest, his brows twitched when he was looking at these documents. Young Master is in Jinyuqiang Tower, so he doesn't know the hardships of the monks in the border areas. The demon tribe is powerful and has become more rampant in recent years. Countless monks in the border areas have been killed or injured, and their situation is extremely difficult. If it weren't for the lack of supplies and military pay. Su Kuan's face flashed with embarrassment. Then he made full use of the sophistication he had acquired over the years in a high position and started to climb up the ladder, complaining loudly and demanding military pay. He was betting that Su Mo was just a young boy. He did not understand the military situation or related military matters. The meeting was just a spur-of-the-moment decision, and he was not fully prepared. So Su Kun started to fool people at this time. But the result was bound to disappoint him. Elder Su, according to the report from the Heavenly Punishment Pavilion, the human race has never stopped paying you military pay. Even the spiritual stones, treasures, and supplies have been overissued, more than before. Over the years, the monks you led have never had a direct confrontation with the demon race. Most of them were afraid before the battle. As the leader of the human race's saint realm, you have never faced the demon race's demon saint head-on. Why is that? Su Emo asked calmly, without showing any emotion. As Su Emo asked questions again and again, Su Kun's expression was no longer as calm as before. Even though he had mastered the art of cultivating his chi, beads of sweat oozed out of his forehead. His mouth moved tremblingly, but in the end, no words came out. You know that your actions have caused the cultivators' morale to drop, and their inner demons have arisen. Their cultivation has stagnated, and they have long been unable to form a formation. Also, what have you done with the supplies given to you by the human race over the years? Many of the monks' standard instruments have been damaged and there is nowhere to exchange them. A spiritual sword has been used for who knows how many years. As for the elixirs and medicines, many of them have even been withheld by the monks. Su Emo spoke word by word, his voice calm and indifferent, enumerating Su Kun's various crimes. He exudes an air of majesty without even getting angry, making people dare not look directly into his eyes. At the same time, a huge force that frightened all the great elders came overwhelming the place. With every word Su Emo said, Su Kun's face turned paler. He never expected that Su Emo had already thoroughly investigated all his crimes. Elder Su Kun, are you going to use the military pay to support your 13 little houses and your 43 useless sons who have been unable to break through the third level of the soldier? Su Emo finally said in a cold voice, his eyes turned into a silver-white color filled with noble evil and endless coldness. Then he used his spiritual power to float a pile of information that had been prepared in advance, and dragged it to the desk of each Supreme Elder. You have violated 32 articles of the human race's peaceful law for controlling monsters. Elder Su Shan, please tell me, what is the punishment for such a crime? Su Yi had already closed his eyes and said. Su Shan looked at the information in his hand. The more he looked, the more gloomy his expression became, and his eyes were filled with endless anger. Your Majesty, for such a crime, he should be struck by 9 thunderbolts and his soul should be destroyed. His family members and relatives will be guilty as well. Clang! Su Kun was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground, his expression filled with fear and despair. At this moment, all the prestige and dignity of a high position and power are gone, and only the fear of death remains. At this time, he kept bowing to Su Emo and said, Your Majesty, I was wrong. I have been confused all these years. I have shed blood and tears for the human race. Over the years I have developed a mental disorder and was blinded by worldly desires for a time, but my crime does not deserve death. My wife and children are innocent. I am just getting old and confused. Su Kun kept knocking his head, tears streaming down his face. When he was young, he was full of vigor and ambition, and he dreamed of fighting and dying on the battlefield. But as he grew older and his lifespan decreased, some worldly desires and fears slowly invaded and enveloped him. He began to fear death. He practiced Taoism and martial arts for his whole life. He was once a young man with extraordinary talent, and was highly regarded by the human race. I once devoted myself to sword training, traveled the world with my sword, and cared about the human race and the world. Otherwise, it would be impossible to break through to the saint realm. The first half of his life was brilliant and bright. He never gave in to old age until his old age. He was always striving to make progress, and his aspirations were as high as the sky. But it was not until 10 years ago, when he met that demon girl and was defeated by her sword, that he completely lost his faith in the Tao. Not only did I completely lose the chance of advancement, but I also had more and more worries and fears. In his words, he had indeed developed a mental barrier. He began to think that he just wanted to live a good life for himself, experience the pleasures of this world. And this indulgence is forever, there is no turning back. Get up. You have been killing demons all your life. You should not die at the hands of your own kind, and you certainly should not die under this cold decree. Su-Emo sighed softly. He helped Sukun up and patted his shoulder. But the law cannot be abolished. If you can take my sword, I will give you a lighter sentence. Your Majesty, are you serious? Sukun asked in disbelief, his voice trembling. Your Majesty's words are golden, so of course I take them seriously. Why don't you thank your Majesty quickly? On the other side, a Supreme Elder winked at Sukun frantically and said. Su-Emo glanced at him calmly, and the Grand Elder felt as if he had fallen into a cold cellar, and instantly fell silent. Let's fight. Su-Emo has no extra explanation. The next moment, Su-Emo had an idea. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the space in the entire human Emperor Palace began to change. No longer in the solemn and grand meeting room. Instead, it instantly transformed into an open-air martial arts training ground. At this moment, the clouds spread out, the autumn wind blows. Surrounded by the blue sky and white clouds, everyone felt happy and enlightened. Your Majesty, the human Emperor is very capable. As expected of the ancestors' appointed spokesperson. Seeing that Su-Emo executed Sukun with great vigor and speed, killing the chicken to scare the monkey. Some of the Supreme Elders have changed their original attitude towards Su-Emo. At this moment, everyone was extremely respectful and flattering him without making any expression. They were afraid that Su-Emo would attack them again later. Su-Emo looked indifferent, unmoved, and even raised the corners of his mouth slightly, with a hint of mockery. Some of the Supreme Elders felt that it was boring and stopped talking. Soon, all the great elders stepped aside, leaving the venue to Su-Emo and Sukun. Sukun stood with a sword in his hand, his expression solemn. Su-Emo stood with his hands behind his back, glanced at him indifferently, and stood aside casually. Seeing that Su-Emo hadn't even gotten into a fighting stance, Sukun said in a very serious tone. Your Majesty, you have to think carefully. This strike of mine has the power of 80 years. I'm afraid of you. Boom! Before Sukun could finish his words, a dazzling sword light slashed towards him. In an instant, the only thing left in his eyes was this overwhelming and extremely magnificent white sword energy. As the white sword energy streaked across the sky, layers of frost appeared on the ground of the entire human Emperor Palace. At this moment, the world seemed to have entered a severe winter, freezing cold. Sukun's pupils shrank, and he hastily raised his sword to block. Layers of protective spiritual energy appeared on his body. The saint's golden body had already lit up. But the sword light seemed to ignore all obstacles of the golden body, and went straight through his spiritual light. Crash! The next moment, the golden body disappeared. Sukun stood stiffly in place, his body covered with white frost, like an ice-cold old man, motionless. With one sword, the sky and earth were covered with white snow and ice marks. The entire environment was directly rewritten. The group of great elders were already speechless with astonishment. He stared blankly at Sukun, whose life or death was unknown. And Su-Emo, who had a calm expression and was slowly putting away his sword, as if he had never made a move before. Sukun became famous when he was young and was once very famous. Even though he was only at the middle stage of sainthood, at his peak, he could fight against saints at the late stage. None of the many great elders present dared to say that they were absolutely sure of defeating Sukun. But at this moment, he was under Sumo's sword, and his life or death was unknown. Doesn't that mean that even these supreme elders can't block Sumo's sword? I didn't expect that. The rumors were rare. Your Majesty, the human Emperor. I used to scoff at the idea that a venerable could fight a saint, but now it seems to be true. I originally thought that rumors were constantly exaggerated and became more and more outrageous, but this is the first time I've seen such a low-key and conservative rumor. The Taoist leaders were horrified at this moment, and talked to themselves in a daze. This moment brought a huge shock to their hearts. They stared blankly at Sukuin in the field. "I don't know whether he will live or die under this sword." Ahem. After a while, Sukuin finally made some moves. Under the wrapping of spiritual power, the white frost on his body finally faded a lot. But as soon as he regained consciousness, he staggered and vomited blood. But the blood that flowed out immediately turned into ice as soon as it fell to the ground. At this moment, his internal organs had already been invaded by the cold, and he would not live long. "You only have 2 months left. If you can dissolve the ice and snow sword intent in your body, not only will your cultivation level be further improved, but the fire poison in your body will also be dispelled. If you can't resist, your organs will be completely frozen by the ice and snow sword intent, and you will die," Suemo said calmly. Sukuin had been suffering from fire poison and hidden injuries that had accumulated for many years, so Suemo chose to use the ice and snow sword intent. It was just something that happened easily. This ice and snow sword will remain in Sukuin's body for 2 months. In other words, Sukuin only has 2 months to live. Suemo didn't think he could dissolve the ice and snow sword intent. "Considering that you have made great contributions to the human race in your prime, you have 2 options. One is to retire and return home to spend time with your wife and children and enjoy your last 2 months. Second, be exiled to the world's battlefield, seek a glimmer of hope between life and death, and fight to the end." Suemo had already turned his back and said lightly, "Old Kun can still enjoy it for 2 months. His Majesty the Emperor has already shown mercy beyond the law. Yes, that's good. He committed so many crimes that are too numerous to list. It's a blessing that he was able to say goodbye to this world properly in the end." The other great elders sighed, and everyone thought that Sukuin would choose the first path. This is indeed the best destination for him. Even Suemo is no exception. In Sumo's opinion, Sukuin had already lost his heart for Taoism, and in his later years he became obsessed with worldly desires. Most of them will choose to enjoy their old age. There was a long silence behind him. Suemo did not urge him. After all, this kind of life and death decision requires careful consideration. "Your Majesty, I choose the second option." After a while, Sukuin's hoarse voice came from behind. The voice was slow, each word was pronounced with emphasis, but it was extremely firm. Suemo turned around and looked at him with a little surprise. And Sukuin also raised his eyes and chose to look directly into Sumo's eyes. His back was straight. In his cloudy eyes, there was a determination and firmness that had never been there before. The old face is glowing with a hint of brilliance, just like the heroic spirit of his youth. Even though his lifespan has long been coming to an end, at this moment, he seems to have regained the vigor and vitality of his youth. From now on, Sukuin will be dismissed from his position as Grand Elder, stripped of all authority and positions in the Order of Monks, and sent to the world battlefield. Although Suemo was a little moved, he still said, "The world battlefield is where the real decisive battle between humans and demons will take place, and it is also the most difficult battlefield. It is the most extensive and core area where the 2 tribes have the most contact with each other. No tribe dares to make a mistake. So even though it has not yet been the final decisive battle, the number of human monks who die there every year is an unimaginable number. There, the war never stops. There is only the bloodiest slaughter, and walls built with corpses. Every year, only a few monks can return from the world battlefield. Sukuin was exiled there with a crippled body, and the only fate waiting for him was to fight to death. Unless one day, the human race and the demon race truly cease fire, and can live in peace. But this is obviously impossible. The real high-ranking members of the Tao sect all avoid the world battlefield. They would just sit back and relax, leaving the world battlefield to the monks from some weak families to participate in the fight. Suemo also didn't expect that Sukuin would actually choose this path. "Thank you, Your Majesty the Human Emperor," Sukuin said. There was an indescribable light flowing in his eyes, and he looked radiant. Even Suemo couldn't help but be moved. Monks are born in heaven and buried in earth, so what's the harm in death? Perhaps he also wanted to dream about being young again? To die in battle. Sukuin was directly helped down, and was stripped of his status as the Grand Elder, so he naturally missed the next meeting. Tomorrow I will be sent to the world battlefield. The ice and snow sword intent invaded his body, causing Sukuin's cultivation to fall to the early stage of the saint. Once the power is unleashed, the invasion of the ice and snow sword intent will become deeper, and death will only come sooner. Everyone is betting on how long he can survive on the world battlefield? But no one thought that he could return safely. Because that is simply a dead end. The martial arts arena retreated and returned to the solemn meeting room. Elder Suyun, you have cleared up the internal strife of the human race over the years and uncovered countless spies of the human race. Su Emo admires you very much. Sukuin left, but the meeting continued. Su Emo had already turned his gaze to the other Supreme Elder and said lightly, Your Majesty, thank you for your praise. This is what I should do. Suyun felt a little uneasy, thinking that something was not right, but he still replied cautiously. Your contributions to the human race are naturally seen by the human race, but why have you never visited those brothels, red dust inns, and romantic places? Su Emo asked calmly. Your Majesty, Suyun thought to himself that this was terrible, and was filled with anxiety, but he didn't know how to explain himself. These places are most likely to contain demons. Elder Suyun, you wouldn't be unaware of this, right? Over the past few years you have been spreading rumors in romantic places, but you have never captured a demon. There are even rumors that fox girls from the demon race openly receive customers from the human race, and it has become a high-end business, with a night of sex costing thousands of dollars. This has indeed brought good economic benefits, but you must know that these demon fox girls are also likely to be spies of the demon tribe, right? And over the years, where have all the elixirs, spiritual tools, and even people that disappeared for no apparent reason gone? Why have we been searching for clues for so long, but why is there no news yet? Su Emo Dao. Suyun's face was already extremely ugly. At this moment, he finally understood how Sukuin felt just now, and his heart was filled with bitterness. Over the years, you have indulged your subordinates, allowing them to conduct private transactions and exchanges with the demon race. You don't really think that the human race doesn't know, do you? Su Emo said coldly, his face already full of frost. That's right, wherever the soil touches, there will naturally be transactions. The human race and the demon race also have trade relations. The items being traded may be human elixirs, magic medicines, and standard magic weapons. It could also be human trafficking. The human race sent beauties to the demon race, and the demon race sent charming little fox girls and beastard girls to the human race. This has long been an unspoken secret among the entire human race's top leaders. When a person has power but his cultivation does not make any progress, monks can also fall, and their fall will only be more serious than that of ordinary people. Some monks become bloodthirsty in their later years, some monks indulge in lust, and some monks directly turn to the devil and betray the human race. These all happen from time to time. No matter in which era or which world. There is never a shortage of corrupt officials and treacherous ministers in high positions of power. Your Majesty, I am unable to discipline you. I know my crime. I am willing to accept any punishment. Suyun's voice was hoarse, and he seemed to have aged 10 years. He lowered his head and was too lazy to explain. The human emperor had not been born for 100 years, and the entire human race was indeed in a mess. Unexpectedly, Su Emo would immediately start to rectify the situation. Start with their top management first. Suchi, Suche, Suen. And this is not over yet. Su Emo called several people one after another. All the people whose names were called felt a lump in their hearts, and their bodies stiffened. I knew it was all over this time. As expected, a pile of thick information and various accusations were presented to everyone. Looking at the information, some people's faces turned pale and blue. Then there was a long sigh, and only deep despair was left. Fortunately, there were only 3 or 4 people who were called out, and the remaining majority of people secretly breathed a sigh of relief. I'm in a hurry, and so are you. You can come together. It's the martial arts arena again. Su-Mo looked at these supreme elders and said directly. This? Several great elders looked at each other. Then, Your Majesty, please forgive our rudeness. Several great elders did not dare to be arrogant. He knew very well that the unrealistically young human emperor in front of him had terrifying combat power that could not be overcome by common sense. They then quickly joined forces, formed a magic circle, and attacked Su-Mo. Boom! A massive battle broke out in the entire human emperor palace. It was a fair fight, Su-Mo taking on a group alone. But the battle started quickly and ended quickly. Just a moment. A group of supreme elders flew backwards in the fight even faster than when they came. He then lay on the ground, suffering varying degrees of injuries. Ding, you defeated Su Qi, a mid-stage Saint Realm expert, experience value plus 2 million. Ding, your level has been upgraded. Ding, you defeated Su Che, a powerful saint in the early stage, experience value plus 1 million. Ding, you defeated Su Yun, a mid-stage Saint Realm expert, experience points plus 2 million. Ding, your level has been upgraded. Fighting against opponents of higher levels provides a lot of experience. After beating up the senior elders in front of him, Su-Mo was promoted 3 levels. He has reached the early stage of Saint, but his combat power is still at level 89, and has not yet reached level 90, the level of the human emperor. Su Qi, you are too selfish. You rely on the power of the Taoist sect to bully other weak families. Now I punish you by donating half of your own property to appease the anger of other families. Do you have any objection? Looking at one of the elders lying on the ground, Su-Mo asked. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your mercy. Su Qi struggled to stand up and bowed reluctantly. Su Che, you have too many concubines in your harem, and you wantonly robbed other decent women, including Lolita, Queen, innocent little boy, married man and married woman. Your personal morality is corrupt and your behavior is outrageous. I will punish you now. Su-Mo punished everyone according to the severity of their crimes. Some were dismissed from their posts, some were ordered to discipline their subordinates, and some were deprived of their murder weapons. Soon, several supreme elders admitted their guilt and left with a look of relief on their faces. After all, compared to these, Su Quan and Su Yun are considered light. The remaining supreme elders. There were still 6 people left on the scene, all looking terrified and at a loss as to what to do. Su Shan, Su Qing, Su Xing. Su-Mo called 4 more people in succession. The 4 of them were nervous. After Su-Mo's series of internal purges to establish his authority, the thing they feared most was being singled out by Su-Mo. Who wouldn't be panicked? Whoever is named is guilty. Even if there was nothing to hide at this moment, one would still be a little timid. You have done well over the years. The human race will remember your contributions. Each of you will be credited with a great achievement, and have the opportunity to inherit the legacy in the Heritage Hall once. Su-Mo said softly, with a rare smile on his face, with a hint of relief and encouragement. Then he made a composition, performed the etiquette for his elders, and said sincerely, Su-Mo, I would like to thank all the seniors on behalf of the human race. You have spent your whole lives in the military, and have made unparalleled contributions to the human race. With you here, the human race's sky will not collapse. The sound rolled straight into the sky. The few who stayed behind fought the enemy without shedding a tear, and fought the monsters without fear. At this moment, I couldn't control my emotions and tears welled up in my eyes. Thank you, Your Majesty! The remaining elders had tears in their eyes. A flame called faith flows in my heart. They hold high positions, and there are very few people in the world who are qualified to praise and reward them. And His Majesty the Emperor is undoubtedly one of them. Sometimes, glory and faith are more important than anything else. At this time, Su-Mo's words. It seemed as if they saw the old ancestor of the Su family standing in front of them again. It made them tearful and dazed for a while. Su-Mo, you are indeed the descendant of the ancestor. At the same time, they couldn't help but be moved by the reward given by Suemo. It can be said that the most important inheritance of the entire human race is the inheritance in the palace of Human Emperor. Since the Su family's ancestor had not been born for 100 years, the entire Human Emperor palace had never been opened again. It was not until Suemo appeared that the inheritance hall was reopened. For them, the inheritance in the inheritance hall can allow them to move forward. It should be enough to make them ecstatic, and the reward should not be too generous. And at this point, the high-level meeting on Taoism held in the Human Emperor Palace has come to an end. There are two others who have never been named by Suemo. But in the end, Suemo looked at them deeply. These two people were the ones among the great elders who had neither committed any serious mistakes nor made any special achievements. A typical retiree who lives in peace and contentment, he lacks the passion of his youth and does not achieve much, but he will not harm anyone either. But Sumo's last glance at them was enough to frighten them. Although he did not receive any punishment at this time, he was already feeling uneasy in his heart. As if they had done something wrong, they couldn't figure out Sumo's intentions. At this moment, Suemo is like a true leader. The entire human race's upper echelons are governed in an obedient manner. Suemo has never really learned any art of ruling people, or any art of ruling a royal family. But when you cultivate to Sumo's state of mind, he has long had his own unique insights into the operating laws of all things in the world and the underlying operating logic of institutional power. And with the experience of both the samsara world and the main world, compared to ordinary people, he is just more able to see into people's hearts. The meeting was adjourned. Over the next 2 months, the entire human race underwent a top-down reorganization and some reforms. There has been no major institutional changes. After all, this is a world where strength is supreme. When personal force is above all else, power is only a byproduct of strength. It is simply unrealistic to think that one can subdue the strong by relying on the system. What matters is absolute strength. Just like no matter whether it is the human race or the demon race, the most powerful person is always the strongest person. The reason why Suemo was able to punish these supreme elders was, not only is there the Su family's ancestor, who is believed to be still alive, hanging over their heads. Moreover, Suemo has the absolute strength to beat them. If they refuse to accept, Suemo will just beat them into submission. This rectification lasted for more than 1 or 2 months. Some monks in high positions began to panic, fearing that they would be punished. Starting from within the Tao sect, a large number of monks were sent to the border every day. At the same time, the same is true for some other small families. The entire human race is undergoing a major reshuffle. However, the morals of the human race became much clearer as a result. At the same time, Suemo has already started on his way to the trials of the major families. After all, the 8 great families still have a lot of human heritage and experience points waiting for him. Suemo naturally had to go. Suemo had just left the Taoist sect and had not gone far on his flying sword. Then he felt a strong demonic aura coming over him that frightened him. At least he's a demon saint, but it feels like more than that. Sumo's eyes narrowed slightly. This demonic aura was far more intense than the one Bai Shao encountered at the beginning, and it almost turned into substance. The next moment, Suemo turned into a stream of light. Escape to the place where the evil spirit comes from. Half a quarter of an hour later, Suemo arrived at the destination. Watching the battle taking place, surprise flashed across his eyes. I saw a huge demon bear slapping an innocent young girl with its claws. Looking at the beautiful figure of the girl, Suemo couldn't help but frown, feeling a sense of familiarity. But there was no time to think about it. The next moment, the figure flashed and came close to the girl. Xiaojiu appeared out of thin air in his hand, and he slashed out with a sword. Boom! The huge sword energy slashed directly towards the giant bear. In an instant, the giant bear was frozen in place and turned into an ice sculpture. So weak? Suemo was a little surprised. This was inconsistent with the terrifying huge demonic energy before. Are there other big monsters nearby? But then he carefully felt his surroundings, and there seemed to be nothing unusual, as if the fleeting evil spirit just now was just an illusion. Brother Suemo! At this moment, a gentle call like the sound of a lark came from behind. Hearing a familiar voice, Suemo turned around. Seeing the delicate and beautiful person in front of him, Sumo's eyes flashed with realization. Xianyuan Luoyun? It's me, Brother Suemo! Xianyuan Luoyun raised the corners of her delicate mouth and smiled sweetly. Long time no see. It's not that long, only 3 days. Sumo's expression was calm, neither cold nor hot. Only 3 days? But it feels like a long time has passed. Xianyuan Luoyun whispered, with a timid look on her face, looking a little depressed for a moment. Suemo looked at her in surprise. I don't know where her sudden sadness comes from. Just when Suemo was hesitating whether to leave it alone or leave it alone. After a while, Xianyuan Luoyun regained her spirits, raised her little face and said, Hee, maybe every day I don't see Brother Suemo is like a year for me. Suemo. He always felt that this sentence was a little familiar, as if some handsome guy had said it before. Why are you here alone? Suemo asked, overshadowing the topic. I don't remember either. I was in a bad mood and came out to relax, and then I ended up here for no apparent reason. Xianyuan Luoyun said with a confused look on his face. Are you in a bad mood? Is it because you lost to him in the previous battle of Dao sect? So you came here to relax? Suemo thought secretly. How can life be smooth sailing? It is always full of setbacks. You must know that there are always people who are better than you, and no one can be invincible forever. Perhaps because he was worried that the girl in front of him would lose her swordsmanship like his original self, Suemo couldn't help but say. Saying this to him is also saying this to myself. No one will always be invincible, but there will always be someone who is invincible. Isn't Brother Suemo the one who is invincible at this moment? Xianyuan Luoyun tilted her cute little head and said. Suemo was stunned for a moment, then said calmly. In life, your biggest opponent is always yourself. Suemo did not continue to talk, and stopped talking. Whether he can really get out of this depends on Xianyuan Luoyun himself. We'll meet again someday. I hope I can see your more brilliant swordsmanship then. Suemo has turned his back and is ready to leave. After all, it was just an encounter, and he didn't want to get involved too much. Brother Suemo, wait for me. The direction you're heading seems to be the Xianyuan family. We're just on the same route. However, just when he was halfway there, Xianyuan Luoyun caught up with him and said happily. Suemo. No, I'm going to the Dongfang family. Suemo had to change direction abruptly, and walk towards the Dongfang family. What I hate most is colleagues. They only cause trouble. Oh well. Xianyuan Luoyun not only looked a little lost, but his eyes, which were like azure gemstones, suddenly dimmed. But then she seemed to remember something. She pursed her red lips and said courageously, Thank you, Brother Suemo, for saving me again. Seeing Suemo walking straight ahead without answering or pausing. Brother Suemo, do you still remember? 10 years ago, on this day, you were the one who saved me, the little girl who was surrounded by the big monster. After hesitating for a moment, Xianyuan Luoyun said loudly and unwillingly. Xianyuan Luoyun still remembers the incident that happened 10 years ago. She could never forget the handsome young man who traveled alone with a sword. Although he is still so young, he dares to face the whole world alone. It seemed that as long as he had a sword in his hand, there would be nothing in the world that could fear him. That day, the young man carried her on his back and led her out of the encirclement of the demon tribe. Escort her all the way back home until she is safe and sound. The young man left quietly, just like when he came. He did not take away a cloud. After so many years, how could she forget the boy she knew? Whenever she closed her eyes, she would always recall the fearless boy in her mind. The high-spirited eyebrows and eyes are so bright and energetic. It seemed that as long as he held the sword, he would hold the entire world. Xianyuan Luoyun forgot the boy's name for a moment. But she was sure that as long as she saw the boy, even just once, she would always recognize him at a glance. It was not until 3 years ago that Xianyuan Luoyun met Su Emo again. He was certain that he was the person he had been looking for. She has been practicing sword skills so hard until today, isn't it just to be able to stand in front of Su Emo? Just to make Su Emo look at her with a higher regard, and stop treating her like the little girl she once was. That's why she participated in the dispute over Taoist orthodoxy. Although the battle for orthodoxy of Taoism still failed. But despite the loss, I actually felt a touch of genuine happiness in my heart. Because after so many years he is still himself. He has never changed. He has grown from that handsome young man to the outstanding swordsman he is today. Along with it comes a deep sense of pride. Yes, I am proud. After all, he is the boy that I have liked for 10 years. How could she not be proud of herself now that she was so dazzling and powerful? He has always been a living legend, he was, he is, and he will be even more so in the future. There is no need for so-called setbacks and failures in him. He should sing all the way until he stands at the top of the world. This is the person I have loved for 10 years. So now, does he still remember himself? Do you still remember the little girl he saved? Xianyuan Luoyun thought with anticipation. There is a shallow water rippling gently in the eyes, with the longing of a young girl in love. It has all the beauty of this age. I don't remember. The journey is long and the mountains are high. I hope you can take care of yourself. However, the next moment, a faint voice came leisurely from a long distance. Xianyuan Luoyun's body trembled, and he stood stiffly in place. I stared blankly at Su Emo disappearing completely from my sight. At this moment, the light in her eyes suddenly dimmed. I don't remember. How could he not remember? How could he not remember? Xianyuan Luoyun's eyes were red, and he was talking to himself absent-mindedly. The giant bear that was frozen into an ice sculpture next to him began to tremble slightly, and there was a hint of deep fear in its eyes when it looked at Xianyuan Luoyun. From beginning to end, his eyes never left Xianyuan Luoyun. Even if Su Emo appeared, it was still the same. It kept looking at Xianyuan Luoyun, with fear in its eyes. On the other side, Su Emo went straight to the Dongfang family. The whole person has turned into a stream of light and disappeared. But after flying for a while, then he sensed a figure following him from a distance. Su Emo knew without looking back that it was Xianyuan Luoyun. Su Mo's eyes flickered slightly, and he glanced in Xianyuan Luoyun's direction, with an incomprehensible meaning in his eyes. Then he shook his head and ignored it. Soon, Su Emo came to the first family, the Dongfang family. The human Emperor Hall carried Su Emo to this place, with a huge pressure covering the entire ancestral hall of the Eastern family, shining brightly. The entire Dongfang family's top brass was shocked. The next moment, it was as if he had some perception. Instantly arrived at high altitude to greet them. Welcome to His Majesty the Emperor! All the senior members of the Qin family saluted in unison. No need to be polite. I heard that the Dongfang family has unparalleled spear skills. I came here to learn a thing or two. Su Emo Tan Tan Dao. It is an honor for our Dongfang family that His Majesty the Human Emperor is willing to come, the head of the Dongfang family said respectfully. Soon, everyone from the Dongfang family led Su Emo to the library. The spear manuals of all the Eastern families in the past dynasties are basically all here. In the next few days, Su Emo stayed here quietly, observing the way of shooting. Su Emo doesn't know guns, he only knows swords, but as the saying goes, knowing one thing knows everything. After practicing the sword to perfection, Su Emo can apply what he has learned to other situations. At an extremely fast speed, he practiced his marksmanship to an extremely high level. At this time, Su Emo was not trying to learn the art of spear. It's just a combination of the strengths of hundreds of schools, turning them into the foundation of one's own swordsmanship. 3 days later, Su Emo walked out of the Dongfang family's library. There was already a hint of realization in his eyes. The great elders of the Dongfang family stood in a row. had a battle with Suemo. The most famous one of the Dongfang family is the Overlord's Spear Intent. At this moment, every gun of the Eastern family, a faint layer of fluorescence appeared, and the Overlord's Spear Intent was emanating in strands. Suemo thought for a moment, and also held a spear in his hand. The gun techniques I had learned from observing gun manuals came to my mind. After all, if you use the sword directly, it would be too bullying. This experience is meaningless. Soon, both sides held guns and took the fight seriously. A war is about to break out. First shot. Longing for you, long remembrance of you, short remembrance of you, endless. Lovesickness. Suemo took a step forward, the spear intent and thoughts condensed into substance. The spear in his hand shot out like a dragon, his face full of second-rate spirit. He kept repeating the internet lines he had heard in his previous life. Standing together with a group of supreme elders. Boom! The devastating power of heaven and earth spread throughout the world. Boom! The result is obvious. After only 13 rounds, the 6 supreme elders in front of him were thrown to the ground. Your Majesty, this spear technique is... The supreme elders were shocked. It was really the intention of the gun. Each shot was more shocking than the last. Every shot is deadly. In the end, he even crushed their Eastern family's domineering spear intent. How could he create such terrifying 13 kinds of spear intent in such a short period of time? Is this a genius? 13 fatal shots. Suemo said seriously. 13 fatal shots. The great elders murmured to themselves. Although it is unclear, it feels powerful. And isn't this style of painting a bit wrong? The 13 deadly spears were created by Suemo through his own sword intent. As for the names of these shooting techniques, they are of course made up. Wherever you think of. The main thing is to fool the enemy. I wonder if His Majesty the Emperor could lend us the spear manual? The group of supreme elders gritted their teeth and spoke anyway. These 13 shots are really too amazing. I'll write it to you. Suemo touched his chin, pondered for a moment, and said, I don't have any idea of cherishing what I have. He originally practiced swordsmanship, so it was impossible for him to switch to spearmanship. Moreover, these 13 guns were originally created in the library of the Dongfang family and were the product of his improvisation. It's nothing. Then, Suemo wrote down the patterns of the 13 deadly guns one by one. But whether these supreme elders can understand Suemo is unknown. After bidding farewell to the Dongfang family, soon, Suemo arrived at the Nangong family. The Nangong family is most famous for its fire escape, which is the spiritual fire in the world. It is similar to the true meaning of Lihua that Suemo understood, and they have certain similarities. Your Majesty, please follow me. After explaining the purpose of the visit, soon, under the leadership of the head of the Nangong family, Suemo came to the depths of the back mountain of the Nangong family. This is a waterfall that looks like a paradise. The waterfall plunges 3,000 feet. It is magnificent and majestic, as if connected to the Milky Way. A huge amount of spiritual energy emanated from it in strands. The treasure land of the Nangong family is behind the waterfall. Just like the Taoist sect has the human emperor palace as its heritage. The heritage of the Nangong family is the treasure land behind this waterfall. Inside is the spiritual fire from all over the world collected by the Nangong family. Your Majesty, this waterfall is formed by the confluence of a spiritual river, and was sealed by the ancestor of my Nangong family. It contains the spiritual fire of heaven and earth collected by my Nangong family for generations. It is trapped here because of the seal of the spiritual river. We only need to control it with the fire-driving technique, and this spiritual fire can be used by His Majesty the Human Emperor. The head of the Nangong family explained. Having said that, he passed the mantra to Suemo. Suemo nodded, and after learning the fire-driving technique by heart, Ding! Congratulations to the host for mastering the fire-driving technique level 1, 0 out of 100. The system prompt sounded in my ears. Sumo's entire body turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the waterfall in an instant. What do you think? His Majesty the Human Emperor can master? What level of spiritual fire can he control? After Su Mo left, everyone in the Nangong family talked about it. It's hard to say. It's good enough to be able to control a low-grade Xian-grade spiritual fire. You know, many people spend their entire lives trying to master a single mysterious spiritual fire. And His Majesty the Human Emperor has only just mastered the fire-driving technique, which is only at the elementary level, and he has never practiced it before. It is extremely difficult for him to master the mystical grade spiritual fire. The Nangong family's great elders sighed. The spiritual fire in the world is also divided into grades, namely, heaven, earth, black and yellow. Each grade is divided into 3 levels, upper, middle and lower. The higher the grade, not only is the power more powerful, but the more spiritual it is. However, the spiritual fires collected by the Nangong family only included the 3 types of spiritual fire, earth, profound, and yellow. The legendary heavenly grade spiritual fire has only existed in legends. No one has actually seen it. For an ordinary Nangong family, being able to master a mysterious spiritual fire is already an amazing talent. This also requires 18 years of continuous and diligent practice of the fire-driving technique. At this time, Su Mo had just mastered the fire-driving technique. Normally, he should not be able to master even the lowest grade yellow spiritual fire. However, considering Su Mo's status as the heir to the emperor, as well as the miracles he had created time and again, he spoke of a mysterious product with extreme caution. Otherwise they will get slapped in the face again. How is the thing I asked you to do going? The head of the Nangong family called a subordinate and asked. Master, don't worry. The Xian-level spiritual fire that has been tamed in advance has already been put in. When the time comes, we just need to wait for His Majesty the Emperor to go in, and then he will recognize him as the master. The subordinate said respectfully. Patriarch Nangong nodded with satisfaction. After all, if Su Mo came to the Nangong family and couldn't even tame a decent spiritual fire, wouldn't it be too embarrassing? In order to save his face, he had to resort to this last resort. The entire human race is ruled by the 3 emperors, and there is no direct relationship between them. Sometimes many generations of emperors would go into seclusion one after another, and then the entire world would be handed over to one emperor to manage. Now, the 3 emperors have basically been in seclusion one after another. Coupled with the thunderous means used by the new human emperor to discipline the Taoist sect, it is impossible not to curry favor with him. Who told him that the Nangong family has always been among the last few families in the ranking? Soon, Su Mo arrived at the waterfall. Only then did I discover that there was a whole new world inside. The entire waterfall suddenly became clear and magnificent. There was an oil lamp burning slowly, emitting a flickering yellow flame that seemed to be about to go out at any moment. There was also a freezing blue fire floating on the cold ice, which was against common sense. There is also a white flame that emits a creepy aura. There is also a ghost-like, faintly transparent, colorless flame. In short, they come in all different shapes and sizes. The next moment, Su Mo's eyes swept over them one by one. Name, open flame. Grade, yellow grade lower. Evaluation, the best choice for cooking. Name, wildfire. Grade, medium yellow. Evaluation, it is a fire that spreads all over the prairie and is difficult to extinguish. Name, fireworks on earth. Grade, yellow grade, top grade. Evaluation, full of the flavor of the human world, with a certain popularity, ghosts and gods are afraid of it. Soon, some strange information about fire and its attributes appeared in front of him. At the same time, the system prompt came again. Ding, open flame detected. Do you want to devour it using the fire-driving technique? Su Mo's eyes flickered, and the next moment he chose yes. As soon as the thought moved, the fireworks of the world were naturally absorbed by Su Mo. Ding, you have absorbed the flame. Your proficiency in the fire-driving technique plus 100. Ding, the level of the fire-driving technique has been upgraded. The current level of flames that the fire-driving technique can devour has been upgraded to medium yellow grade. Fire Driving Technique LV2, 1/200. Just by swallowing a yellow flame, the fire driving technique was upgraded to level 2. From originally being able to only devour lower-grade yellow items, it can now devour middle-grade yellow items. Next, Suemo used the fire driving technique and began to devour the remaining flames. Ding! You have devoured the wildfire. Your fire driving skill proficiency plus 100. Ding! You have devoured the lights of thousands of homes. Your fire driving skill proficiency plus 100. Ding! You have devoured the fireworks of the world. Your fire driving skill proficiency plus 100. Ding! Your fire driving technique level has been upgraded. Soon, as he continued to devour, the fire driving technique had won 2 levels in a row. Can devour the mysterious flame. Every time he devoured a flame, Suemo's fire control ability improved qualitatively. From now on, you can use this kind of flame. If things continue like this, it won't be long before he becomes the Emperor of Flame. Ding! You have devoured the will-o'-the-wisp. Your fire driving skill proficiency plus 200. Ding! You have swallowed the frost fire. Your fire driving skill proficiency plus 200. Ding! Your fire driving technique level has been upgraded. After swallowing several mysterious spiritual fires in succession, the level of the fire driving technique was raised again. As the level of the fire driving technique increased, Suemo began to feel a mysterious feeling in his heart. The next moment, Suemo had a sudden idea and began to try to integrate the Lihua sword intent and the Shihua Ju. Soon, the entire driving fire technique changed drastically after being enhanced by the fire sword intention. Ding! Your fire driving technique has been integrated with the fire separation sword intention, and has automatically evolved into the 9 nether fire refining technique. The fire driving technique unexpectedly evolved. In an instant, the power of the 9 nether fire refining art appeared before his eyes. 9 netherworld fire refining technique can devour the spiritual fire of the world and fuse and evolve the spiritual fire. Has the fire driving technique evolved? Suemo murmured, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. This evolved driving fire is extremely powerful and can even fuse with other spiritual fires. I wonder if I can finally fuse together a heavenly grade spiritual fire? Shaking his head, Suemo stopped thinking about it and continued to devour the spiritual fire. Soon, in the entire treasure land, the flames of the Xian-grade and Huang-grade flames were almost completely devoured. Only 3 Earth-grade flames remained in the deepest part of the entire treasure land, and they had not been swallowed up. First, Suemo came to the first Earth-grade flame. Name: Heart Fire. Grade: Medium Earth-grade. Evaluation: you can gain special Heart Fire power based on the strength of your personal spiritual power. The review of Xinhua is quite mysterious, but it probably comes from the power of the mind and spirit. This should only exist in concepts. No one knows where the ancestor of the Nangong family got it, and now it has turned into some kind of substantial flame. The next moment, Suemo no longer thought about it. Use the 9 nether fire refining technique to devour the heart fire. Ding! You have devoured the heart fire, and under the influence of the 9 nether fire refining technique, it has automatically evolved into the fire of soul portrayal. After swallowing the first Earth-grade flame, the heart fire, the system prompt sound came to my ears. In an instant, Suemo understood the wonderful use of the fire of spiritual reflection. It is possible to rely on the power of one's own mind. To change the state of the flame, for example, if you want the fire to be cold, it will be cold. It can be whatever state you want it to be. Even the temperature of the flame will change with the changes in one's own mind. It's like having absolute control over fire. The next moment, Suemo went to the location of the next low-grade flame, the true and false fire. This was actually a flame between reality and illusion, flickering and flickering. Name: True and False Fire. Grade: Medium Earth Grade. Evaluation: shuttles between truth and falsehood can penetrate physical flames and injure people from a distance. Soon, Suemo activated the 9 nether purgatory technique and devoured the true and false fires. Ding, you have devoured the true and false fire and evolved into the illusion fire. The fire of illusion is a fire that can create illusions, but at the same time, the characteristics of true and false fire are not lost. Su-Mo found the last Earth grade flame, the Flame of Hope. Name: Flame of Hope. Grade: Earth grade top grade. Comment: as long as there is a spark of hope in your heart, it will continue to grow, and at a certain time, there will be miraculous changes. After swallowing the Flame of Hope, strangely, Su-Mo himself did not undergo any special changes. This was the only flame among all the Earth grade flames that brought the least change to him. It's like I didn't swallow it. The flames that Su-Mo devoured did not mean to devour them completely, but only to take away some of the fire. From then on, he possessed the power to use the flame of this bell. There are still a lot of fire seeds in the treasure land, and there is no change. After a brief thought, Su-Mo transformed his Lihua sword into a fire. Stay in this treasured place. Name: Seed of Fire. Grade: Earth grade top grade. Evaluation: the fire transformed from the Lihua sword will of a strong man is extremely powerful. It not only has a strong will of fire, but also has an amazing sword will. Su-Mo also didn't expect that his Lihua sword intent was actually a top-grade fire seed. After doing all this, Su-Mo left the treasure land of the Nangong family. Your Majesty, what level of fire do you master? After Su-Mo came out, the head of the Nangong family asked cautiously. That is to say, he has mastered all the third-grade Dixunhuang spiritual fires. Su-Mo replied calmly. Your Majesty is indeed a genius. He has mastered the mystical fire at such a young age. The head of the Nangong family said the prepared lines. But halfway through, he realized something was not right. Wait, Your Majesty, what did you say? Your family's spiritual fire is pretty good, and you've basically mastered it. Su-Mo said with some amusement. The Nangong family's fire-driving technique is extremely difficult to upgrade. Many people spend their entire lives only being able to control one type of fire. However, under the power of the system, Su-Mo's fire-driving technique can not only be upgraded quickly, but also swallowed and merged infinitely. It has become a bug-like existence. Then let's fight. I don't use a sword, only fire, Su-Mo said with a smile on his face. Seeing that everyone looked unconvinced, he was worried that he had no good excuse to challenge the opponent. It just so happens that these are the experience points sent to me. This? The senior members of the Nangong family were in a state of confusion. After hesitating for a moment, all the saint-level warriors of the Nangong family chose to have a fair duel with Su-Mo. Su-Mo just stood there calmly. The star-like eyes flashed by. The next moment, a strange black flame appeared. It suddenly started burning from the bodies of the Supreme Elders. All the noble families were completely shocked. Help, is this the dark spirit fire? But before they could finish being surprised, the next moment, the whole world suddenly turned cold. I saw an evil and strange blue flame being thrown out by Su-Mo. Is this the frost spirit fire? Oh my god, how can one master the fire-driving technique without practicing it for 20 to 30 years? How could this be? The Nangong family's Grand Elder was completely shocked. Hastily resist. Next, the Grand Elder of the Nangong family seemed to have arrived at a feast of fire. Su-Mo used high-level spiritual fires one after another at will. The senior members of the Nangong family were soon overwhelmed. They are now very suspicious. Is it possible that Su-Mo has moved all the spiritual fire in the entire Xuanhua treasure land here? Outside world. The real battle actually only takes place in a moment, and is over before it even begins. Why, the Supreme Elders are not moving! The head of the Nangong family was somewhat confused and doubtful. Why haven't you started fighting yet? His Majesty the Human Emperor just glanced at them briefly, and they suddenly stopped moving? The onlookers looked confused and puzzled. Ding, you defeated Nangong Wentian, a powerful saint in the early stage. Experience points plus 10 million. Ding, you've been upgraded. Seeing that the victory had been decided and the experience points had been credited, Su Emo did not plan to stay any longer. In your Xuanhua treasure land, there is a ground-grade fire seed that I left behind as a reward for you, Su Emo said, then flew away on his sword and disappeared at the end of the sky. And it wasn't until 3 minutes after Su Emo left that several Supreme Elders fell to the ground in exhaustion, their faces covered in sweat and filled with fear. I thought I was going to die. There was so much fire just now. Where is the fire? The great elders were speechless. How could they know that at the beginning of the game? Su Emo had already used the fire of illusion to pull them into the illusion. The illusion fire and the heart fire work together and merge into Su Mo's sword intent. It is extremely difficult for a saint to break through the illusion. Unless one can surpass Su Mo's swordsmanship and will, there is a chance of breaking the illusion. But this is obviously impossible. Today, with Su Mo's early stage of saint cultivation, he can already achieve true instant kill of opponents in the same realm. Not even a sword is needed. Soon, Su Emo bid farewell to the Nangong family and rushed to the remaining families. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. Su Emo has almost learned some of the top inheritances and abilities belonging to humans in this world of reincarnation. What impressed Su Emo the most was, it should be the boxing skills of the Situ family, the Chimin Duanjia of the Zhuge family, and the mirror power of the Gongsun family. Every secret method is amazing. For others, it may be biting off more than they can chew. But Su Emo has a system, so it is easy for him to master a skill. It's just that the proficiency levels vary. After being included, it still needs to be practiced. However, what surprised Su Emo the most was the mirror power of the Gongsun family. It can differentiate into an avatar with half the strength of the original body. It should be of great use at critical moments. Now, the 8 great families have gone to 7 of them. Su Mo's last stop is the Xianyuan family. Brother Su Emo. It was Xianyuan Luoyun, who had been waiting there for a long time. She stood there gracefully. It is so beautiful that you can't compare it just by looking at its figure. With a delicate and beautiful appearance and an ethereal temperament, she looks like a fairy in a painting. We meet again, Xianyuan Luoyun said sweetly. Su Emo nodded imperceptibly. In fact, he really wanted to say, don't think that I don't know because you followed me all the way. Brother Su Emo, you have already learned the Xianyuan sword chi of our Xianyuan family. Next I will take you to see the Xianyuan family's weapon storage pavilion, Xianyuan Luoyun said. He didn't treat Su Emo as an outsider at all and directly led her to the most important treasure land of the Xianyuan family. Xianyuan Xiaotian, who was standing aside, was grinning as he watched. You damn girl, I saw you sneak away halfway, and when Su Emo came back, you ran back again, and led him directly to the weapons storage pavilion. Xianyuan Xiaotian was quite speechless, but given Su Mo's identity at this time, he couldn't say much. Brother Su Emo, come here. Xianyuan Luoyun happily led the way for Su Emo, with a faint smile on her lips. Seems to be doing something happy. Soon, Su Emo, under the leadership of Xianyuan Luoyun, he stepped into the Xianyuan family's weapon storage pavilion. And Su Emo just stepped in. The entire weapon storage pavilion suddenly shook violently. Countless weapons began to tremble, as if they were secretly submitting to something that was about to come into the world. I saw that in the deepest part of the weapon storage pavilion, a dazzling golden light shot up into the sky and pierced the sky. The golden sword energy spanned the boundless heaven and earth, and bursts of sword sounds spread throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The earth-shattering sword intent made people tremble with fear, sweeping over with tremendous power. Su Emo understood what he meant and looked towards the golden light. A special feeling surged in his heart. The next moment, a flash of golden light appeared across the sky. Stab at Su Emo from a distance. In a flash, a sword emitting golden light was suspended in front of Su Emo. This is Xianyuan sword spontaneously choosing a master. The Taoist leader's pupils shrank and his face was full of disbelief. How could the Xianyuan sword, which even the emperor of my Xianyuan family cannot master, The patriarch of the Xianyuan family murmured incoherently, with deep shock and confusion in his eyes. Xianyuan sword. Su Mo muttered to himself, raised his hand and held his. The next moment, a strong sword intent came from the Xianyuan sword. It was an unyielding will. The entire sword was shaking, as if trying to break free from Su Mo's hand. The sword body was surging with golden light, forming a golden light column that shot straight into the sky. Su Mo knew that now was the real stage of recognizing the master. The competition between Su Mo and Xianyuan sword. Under the impact of Xianyuan sword will, Su Mo's 3,000 black silks were flying. Su Mo snorted coldly, his black hair turned white, and his eyes turned into a cold and noble silver white. The huge sword intent in his body was released without reservation at this moment. The Xianyuan sword intent was directly suppressed deeply. After a while, the golden light of the Xianyuan sword faded, and the entire sword body became still. You are even more dishonest than Xiaozhou back then. I want to see where you come from. Su Mo whispered, and the next moment, the information about Xianyuan sword appeared in front of him. Name, Xianyuan sword. Rank, immortal weapon, incomplete. Skills, slay demons, slay ghosts, slay devils, incomplete, slay Buddhas, incomplete, slay gods, incomplete, slay immortals, incomplete. Explanation: this sword can kill everything except humans. The damage done by killing humans will be reduced. Over time, the quality of Xianyuan's sword will decrease. If used to kill aliens, its power will be doubled. Evaluation: its origin is unknown, it gathers the power of all living beings in the world, can kill demons, gods, ghosts, Buddhas and devils, and ghosts and gods are afraid of it. It is said that only contemporary peerless sword cultivators who care about all living beings can wield it. Is it actually a magical weapon? Looking at the introduction of Xianyuan's sword, even with Su Mo's state of mind, he couldn't help but be distracted for a long time. The skills that come with the Xianyuan sword are so amazing that they can shock the world and make the gods and ghosts weep. Even if it is incomplete, but the few styles that remain. Through perception, even with Su Mo's current level of swordsmanship, he felt it was extremely mysterious and difficult to comprehend. It also contains the future of Kendo that Su Mo has been pursuing. Except humans, everything can be killed. Su Mo murmured to himself, seeming to realize something. The name of Xianyuan sword is widely known even in the main world. It has always been the holy sword that suppresses the destiny of the human race. No matter which world it is in, it should be the best in the world. Now that we have the Xianyuan sword, it's time to go find Zhao Ziluo. Su Mo Lo slang. Brother Su Mo, what are you mumbling about? Xianyuan Luoyan's delicate little face came closer. I say, it's time to go kill the monster, Su Mo said, raising his eyes as bright as the starry sky. Looking in the direction of the demon tribe in the distance, an unknown meaning was flowing. Oh! Xianyuan Luoyan's eyes flickered slightly and he uttered, oh, softly. In the demon clan's territory, Zhao Ziluo's palace. Miss, I will withdraw first. After the little fox demon had taken care of everything in the room, he said to Zhao Ziluo. Zhao Ziluo was slightly surprised. This was the first time that the little fox demon had finished his work and offered to leave. In the past, I always wished I could spend a few more minutes with her. But now, when she thought of the opinions of those people in the tribe about her, a hint of realization flashed across her eyes. It seems that the rumors have influenced her subtly, otherwise she wouldn't. Well, you can leave. After thinking this through, Zhao Ziluo said calmly. She is a calm person, used to taking things as they come. Naturally, I won't say anything more or force anything at this time. Hearing this, the little fox demon seemed to breathe a sigh of relief and hurriedly retreated. After the little fox demon left, the huge palace suddenly became quiet and empty. Only Zhao Ziluo was left, looking somewhat lonely. It seems that I am only suitable for one person after all. Zhao Ziluo sighed softly and murmured. How is he? Does he still remember me? Zhao Ziluo said. Even though she is now the Demon Emperor, there is always a figure in her heart that cannot be dispelled. At this point, it seems to have turned into an obsession. It's a pity that my headache has come back recently, otherwise I really want to meet him, to see if he is still as charming as ever, Xiao Ziluo said softly. Sitting on the cold chair, her beautiful face was shrouded in shadow, and her expression could not be seen clearly. At this moment, darkness invaded her. A few days later, the little fox demon came to Xiao Ziluo's room less and less frequently. Although Xiao Ziluo had long stopped eating grains, but Xiao Ziluo really likes to eat some fruits. Every time he saw Xiao Ziluo, he looked flustered and dodged. Until this time, Xiao Ziluo clearly saw a hint of unshakable worry in her eyes. If there's anything, tell me. When the little fox demon was about to retreat, he couldn't help but whisper. Even if she doesn't like to meddle in other people's business. But the little fox demon was her maid after all, her only maid. Yes, miss. The little fox demon trembled, and then retreated in a hurry. A few days later. Stop and turn around. Looking at the little fox demon in front of him with a strange walking posture, Xiao Ziluo couldn't help but frown and asked. Miss? I'm fine. The little fox demon dodged his gaze, somewhat afraid to look Xiao Ziluo in the eye. Xiao Ziluo hummed lightly, his tone undignified. The little fox demon gritted her teeth and turned around. Take off your clothes, Xiao Ziluo said calmly. Miss, I. Under Xiao Ziluo's calm gaze, the little fox demon took off her clothes one by one. Who hit me? Xiao Ziluo's face gradually became more irritated, and he asked in a cold voice. No one hit me, it was me, I accidentally fell and got hurt. The little fox demon whispered, but she dared not look into Xiao Ziluo's eyes. Xiao Ziluo tried his best to keep his expression calm. Explain. Xiao Ziluo closed his eyes and slowly uttered a word. Miss, you'd better kill me. The little fox demon's body trembled, and a hint of despair appeared in his eyes. Xiao Ziluo had a complicated expression. He gently touched her head and said in a softer tone. Forget it. If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Don't say stupid things anymore. Is it because I am useless, or someone bullied you? Xiao Ziluo blamed himself. Then he sighed lightly, and a gleam of spiritual light appeared in his hands. He once again gently healed the wounds on the little fox demon's body. The little fox demon's body kept shaking, and the fear not only did not dissipate, but became more intense. Until Xiao Ziluo cured the little fox demon's injuries. The little fox demon's body stiffened, and it retreated in fear without leaving any words of thanks. Beside the Jingxing Lake. Elder, I can sense that Hong Hong is very scared, but I can't do anything, Xiao Ziluo whispered. Whenever she has something on her mind, she chooses to come to this quiet lake. Why did those people bully Hong Hong when I was unconscious? The people who bullied Hong Hong must be very powerful, otherwise Hong Hong wouldn't be unwilling to tell me. Xiao Ziluo talked to himself. Miss? The clan elder sighed softly, seeming to want to say something but stopping himself. Elder, sometimes I always feel that my life is controlled by an invisible hand, Xiao Ziluo said softly, sitting on the crooked tree, his smooth jade-like slender legs shaking constantly. The tender white jade toes gently glided across the lake water, creating ripples one after another. But I can't see who he is, Xiao Ziluo murmured, with confusion in her beautiful eyes. Half a month later. The injuries on the little fox demon's body became more and more numerous and more serious. It can be seen that she was subjected to inhumane abuse. But when asked, the little fox demon refused to say anything. There was an inextricable fear and despair in his expression. Xiao Ziluo also did not have the energy to investigate the matter due to his physical condition. I can only gently help the little fox demon heal its wounds every day, time and time again. Until this day. After Xiao Ziluo once again helped the little fox demon heal its wounds, the little fox demon seemed to have made up his mind, and said in a trembling voice, Miss, there are rumors among the demon tribe that many little demons have died tragically. They all say you killed him. Xiao Zilio was stunned for a moment. During this period of time, she lived in seclusion and rarely went out because of her old illness. When had she ever stepped out of the palace? Is Bai Shan so shameless? Spreading rumors about something like this? Do you believe it? Xiao Zilio asked with a complicated expression. The little fox demon nodded, then shook his head. Miss is the gentlest and best person in the world. Xiao Zilio laughed in silence and touched her little head. Be good, I'm here, it's okay, I will protect you. Xiao Zilio said softly. Because her old illness has stabilized a lot, as long as she can get through tonight, she will be fine tomorrow. At that time, I will confront Bai Shan again. Or just beat him up and put an end to this ridiculous situation. It's no use. She won't let me go. The little fox demon shook his head. There was a kind of relief in his eyes, as if he had seen through life and death. Who? Xiao Zilio was stunned for a moment and asked. The little fox demon shook his head and kept silent. Xiao Zilio was silent for a moment. I'll put a protective barrier on you that can't be broken except by a demon emperor. You'll be fine, Xiao Zilio said. Then a ray of spiritual light appeared in his hand and poured into the body of the little fox demon. Just wait until tomorrow, until she recovers from her old illness, and all problems will be solved. The little fox demon let Xiao Zilio do what he wanted and finally retreated out of the door. Miss, goodbye. Bye now. The little fox demon murmured, and finally looked at Xiao Zilio deeply. But there was pity in that look. Since that day, the little fox demon has never appeared again. Xiao Zilio turned the entire Qingqiu upside down. There was no trace of the little fox demon. It was as if she had completely disappeared from this world and no longer existed. The demons of Qingqiu, anyone with status or position, or who had contact with the little fox demon, every one of them was lifted up by Xiao Zilio, pinching their necks in midair. A faint light flashed across Xiao Zilio's eyes. The next moment, he threw a demon king to the ground. Her eyebrows could not help but slightly frowned. The 13th. Xiao Zilio murmured. Even after constant soul-searching, there is still no clue. In the vast Qingqiu, it seems that no one has seen the little fox demon since that night. Xiao Zilio was in a trance for a long time. It's gone. How could it be gone? Where did it go? She remembered the time she saw the little fox demon yesterday. The look in his eyes was clearly one of nervousness and fear, but at the same time, there was a sense of relief as if he had taken life and death lightly. If I had not already been in despair and determined to die, how could I feel so liberated and relieved? She is still so young. How many years has she been in this world? There was no time to see so many landscapes and sunsets. This world-stunning feast, the beauty of the world, I don't even have time to walk around and take a look. But now it is gone, how could it be gone? In a trance, Xiao Zilio seemed to have returned to the past. When I first saw the little fox demon, there was no strangeness or nervousness in her pair of bright eyes. But it is the innocence and yearning for beautiful things, and the admiration and pride that carefully hid in his eyes when he looked at her. Yeah, proud. The little fox demon is proud. Proud of having such a brilliant master, the youngest demon emperor in history. But this demon emperor, in the end, couldn't even protect his own subordinates. Miss, do you believe that humans and demons can fall in love? The little fox demon jumped up and down, with a hint of indelible joy in its watery eyes. He asked his master, his eyes full of longing. Humans and demons will fall in love. There will definitely be a day like this. Xiao Zilio murmured softly and affirmed. After all, this has always been her wish. Miss, what is the human world like? Is it fun? The little fox demon tilted his head and asked curiously. The human world, there are candied haws, cotton candy, and many other delicious and fun things. Following the vague memory in his mind, Xiao Zilio said uncertainly. Miss, can you take me to the human world to have a look? I grew up in Qingqiu and have never been to the outside world. The little fox demon held her chin with both hands, her watery eyes staring at the distant sky in a trance. Said with longing, "There will be a day like this." Zhao Ziliuo gently touched her head. The little fox demon's pair of furry fox ears stood up happily, and its eyes were filled with happiness and tenderness. "How can you die when you haven't even had the chance to walk around and take a look at this human world?" Zhao Ziliuo murmured in a hoarse voice. It's all her fault. Her useless master. Her unreasonable master. Such a desperate will and despair? She should have thought of it earlier. What kind of hardships and difficulties will the little fox demon face? So much so that there is such despair? She should have stood in front of her earlier. Zhao Ziliuo clenched his fist slightly, feeling a little regretful and unwilling. "It's Bai Shang. We must kill him," Zhao Ziliuo murmured, with a deep murderous intent hidden in his beautiful eyes. She was tolerant, and had no intention of fighting for power. Why did she have to implicate innocent people? Even her only maid was not spared. It could break the demon emperor's protection that she had previously cast on the little fox demon. Apart from Bai Shang, who was also at the demon emperor level, Zhao Ziliuo couldn't think of anyone else who could kill the little fox demon. And just at this moment, he seemed to notice something. Zhao Ziliuo's eyes fixed, he stopped, raised his hand and called. A piece of paper in the gap flew into Zhao Ziliuo's hand. There were small, crooked words written on it in bright red blood. "Miss, be careful of the demons, they want to harm, miss. Be careful of her." The red handwriting was crooked and written in a hurry. When I finished writing, it seemed as if I had no more strength left, and the handwriting became blurred. Boom! The note in my hand shattered into pieces in an instant. An aura that frightened both heaven and earth erupted from Zhao Ziliuo's body. The next moment, Zhao Ziliuo had turned into a stream of light. Arrived in front of Bai Shang's hall. "Emperor Zhao Ziliuo, the palace ahead is Emperor Bai Shang's bedroom. Please inform me first." Several demon saints bravely blocked Zhao Ziliuo's way. Boom! But the next moment, Zhao Ziliuo waved his hand casually. The demon saints flew backwards and hit the door. The entire door was broken into pieces. "Zhao Ziliuo, what are you going crazy about?" Looking at Zhao Ziliuo, who rushed in aggressively, Bai Shang asked with a gloomy expression. "Where is she?" Zhao Ziliuo stood quietly in Bai Shang's demon emperor hall and asked in a cold voice. She was dressed in a white dress, with an ethereal and graceful demeanor. The perfect face was now covered with a bone-chilling frost. "What do you mean, where is she?" "You have trespassed into my palace without any reason. Don't think that I can't punish you now that you have become the demon emperor." A fierce look flashed across Bai Shang's eyes, and he was furious. "You killed her, you deserve to die," Zhao Ziliuo said coldly. In his hand, an extremely dark energy bomb slowly gathered. The next moment, he rushed straight towards Bai Shang. Boom! With one blow, the heaven and earth lost their color. The entire Demon Emperor's palace was reduced to ashes in an instant. The strong shock wave stirred up a large amount of dust. And wait until the dust settles. There were a few more tall and majestic figures in the field. Those are the other 4 Demon Emperors. They have been lying in ambush here. At this time, they fell from the sky and surrounded Zhao Ziliuo. The war is about to begin. Everyone, you have all seen that Zhao Ziliuo has evil intentions. It would have been fine if he had not attacked the human race before. Now they are attacking me for no reason. This is totally unreasonable. Bai Shang dusted himself off and said calmly, "Even if the ancient scripture is in Zhao Ziliuo's hands, I don't think it will be used by our demon clan. On the contrary, it may cause disaster. In my opinion, it would be better to just snatch it away. We can comprehend the scripture together, and then pacify the human race and seize the world," Bai Shang said. In that mysterious secret realm, the ancient scripture that disappeared spontaneously chose its master and has been in Zhao Ziliuo's hands. But the demons had no method of deduction, and could not figure out the exact location of the scripture. By the time he reacted, Zhao Ziluo had already risen against the sky, appeared out of nowhere, and became the Demon Emperor, a powerful figure. In order to prevent the demon race from internal strife and let the human race take advantage of the loophole, they have been thinking about taking it step by step for so many years. Anyway, as long as it is not obtained by humans, it will be a good thing that will please the monsters. But now, after Bai Shang's repeated tests, Zhao Ziluo did not mention a word about the scriptures. He is not interested in attacking the human race, so of course he cannot keep her now. Therefore, Bai Shang informed the other 3 demon emperors early in the morning, intending to encircle and suppress Zhao Ziluo. But for some reason, the news leaked out and Zhao Ziluo came to kill him. But it doesn't matter whether it is exposed or not, Zhao Ziluo is definitely going to die today. It's not surprising that Zhao Ziluo harbors evil intentions, because she is not of our race. The smoke dissipated, revealing an enchanting figure, her 3,000 black silk stockings moving without wind. Looking closer, it looks like a small black snake entangled and dancing, constantly spitting out its tongue. She has a delicate and beautiful face and a graceful and sexy upper body. It makes people burn with desire at the first sight. But the lower body was a snake tail that was who knows how many miles long, stretching and wrapping around a mountain range. It is extremely charming, yet also gives people a creepy feeling. This is the demon emperor of the Medusa clan, Queen Medusa. At this time, Queen Medusa slowly took out an ancient mirror and shone it on Zhao Ziluo. This is an ancient demon-revealing mirror. If a demon like me were to be illuminated by it, our demon bodies would break and our beast bodies would be revealed. However, Zhao Ziluo did not change. This shows that she is not a pure-blooded demon, but only a half-demon. Queen Medusa slowly revealed the secret. The demon body is based on the human body, but it still retains some characteristics of the race. For example, the foxes have fox tails and the wolves have furry ears. Once the demon race reaches the level of Demon King, they can actively hide their racial characteristics and transform into human form. The beast body completely loses its human characteristics and becomes a beast. Every demon clan will become much stronger when it transforms into beast form. As for half-demons, they are a mix of humans and demons, and essentially still have a human body, and cannot change into animal form at all. Strictly speaking, it is more in line with the human race than the demon race. At this moment, the magic mirror revealed Zhao Ziluo's original appearance. She is still a beautiful human woman, without any change. After all this time, it turns out that you are a half-demon. In this case, it seems even more impossible to keep you here. A tall and imposing man spoke loudly, his voice like a bell. Kill Zhao Ziluo and take the scripture. Another man seemed to have blended into the shadows, with a weird smile on his face, and said grimly, Kill Zhao Ziluo and take the scripture. Bai Shang licked his lips, and greed flashed in his eyes. Zhao Ziluo looked at her calmly, his eyes not changing at all. When you want to accuse someone of a crime, you can always find a pretext. She grew up in the demon tribe, so how can she be half-demon? Does anyone know if this magic mirror is broken? As for this mysterious scripture, it is unheard of. Bai Shang had asked her many times before, but she had clearly stated that she had never heard of it. Now that these people don't believe her, there is nothing she can do. I just want to know one thing. Did you kill my maid? Zhao Ziluo asked in a cold voice. What a joke. Why would I, Bai Shang, attack a little maid? You killed your own maid and you blame me? Bai Shang sneered, and the next moment he raised his hand and waved. The corpses lying on the ground in front of him were none other than the demon maids who had disappeared without a reason in the past few days. When I saw the body on top, Zhao Ziluo couldn't help but tremble. Even though his face was bloody and he had already lost his breath. Zhao Ziluo also recognized her at a glance, because that was the little fox demon. Killing innocent and weak little demons is unjust. From today on, Zhao Ziluo will be expelled from our demon clan. Bai Shang sneered. The next moment, He turned into a black shadow and attacked Zhao Ziluo. The other demon emperors also took action. Zhao Ziluo just stared at the corpse blankly and walked towards her step by step. She could no longer hear what Bai Shang said next. She was overwhelmed by the horrific attacks coming from all directions.